Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuno here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I think we're coming into this year with a new confidence.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
That's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Well, welcome into the 16th annual TexAgs National Signing Day show. I am David Nuno, and this show is presented to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. They want to remind you to have fun out there with Academy Sports and Outdoors. This TexAgs presentation, though, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. In the first hour, we call it the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Our panel this morning, at least in the 8 o'clock hour, Ryan Brauninger, our recruiting analyst who did a fantastic job there at 7 a.m., and Chris Taylor, former player, here in studio. Got here super early, has a little breakfast, and is ready to roll. And we expect Billy Liucci here momentarily. Good morning, friends.
I didn't get any breakfast.
Go get some.
CT.
They're getting it in out there. So
well,
looks good.
I wish
too.
somebody could have brought me some in here. Would have been nice and considerate, David.
Well,
of course you didn't partake, did you?
I had a egg sandwich.
Okay.
And
how much did it weigh?
I didn't. I'm just gonna take care of my macros later as the day goes on. I will subtract as I get to lunch and dinner. But hey, we already had some guys sign this morning, right? Let's let our radio public know who signed early this morning.
Yeah, so the first one in was Kendall Jackson, which was he was the first high school commit of the Mike Elko era and the first signee of the Mike Elko era. So he'll be an answer to a trivia question for A&M fans for a while. But Kendall Jackson in, Jordan Pride in, safety out of Bluntstown, Florida. Ashton Funk, offensive lineman out of Katy Tompkins. Miles Davis, safety out of Converse Judson. And Eric Carner, a tight end out of Elmhurst, Illinois, Immaculate Conception High School. So 5 in.
Let me jump in. Miles O'Neill just signed.
Oh, Miles O'Neill is in. Good deal. That's a quarterback out of the Hun School in Princeton, New Jersey. Came over or played his senior year there out of Massachusetts. So, David, how do we want to start this? So 6 signatures in. How do we want to start this? We want to let CT start breaking down some tape here?
Well, why don't we – yes, let's do that throughout this first segment. But why don't we also kind of set expectations because this is a different signing day and how this compares to maybe Jimbo's first signing day with just the types of players, the numbers of players. If you can kind of set that table for us, Bronny.
Yeah, it's very different. Especially now that we've got an early signing period, along with the transfer portal, along with NIL, along with the bowl game, along with the coaching transition. Like Mike Elko has been really up against it for the last 3 weeks, CT. And when you think about all the stuff he's having to juggle and having to manage, it's pretty remarkable that he's done it. Now he has more help than he did that first week because he's made some hires. But he's still not a full staff here yet in College Station and probably won't be until after some of these bowl games finish up. But it is very different. It's I wish they would go back to just one signing day in February. If they're going to have all this other stuff going on, I wish they would just move all this back to February. Now, I understand why they did it, but with the NCAA, as always, the decision to have an early signing day was done without enough foresight and enough planning and enough look ahead to go, hey, this might end up being a problem here. Maybe we need to rethink this. They don't ever do things like that. But it is very different. But it has been more than commendable to see the work ethic and organization skills of Mike Elko since he's been on campus.
Yeah, when I read the message how he pulled up, no driver, no entourage. He gets out. He's addressing the Texas High School Coaches Association. I think that's big. You look at And if you got a chance to watch any of the state games, I mean, there's a ton of talent in this state. And for him to, be one of his first stops and making sure that he's mending, fences along the way with that group, I think that's very important. And so, like you said, he's up against it. You get here, there's uncertainty, and you have no idea what's going on with the program. But for him to come in, I think he's been a stabilizing factor. He's hit the recruiting trail. He's done everything that he needs to do to try to make sure that this program stabilizes as E-Rob transitions out after the bowl game. So, yeah, he's had his work cut out. But I think for what he was up against, I think he's done a tremendous job getting the signing class.
I mean, it is. I've said it before. It's drinking out of a fire hose 24 hours a day right now for him. Even still, that first week was, I don't know how he did it. There just wasn't enough hours in the day. But today, what we're expecting, though, they've got, we think they're going to sign, is it 10 players? Let me count this. I don't want to say something false on air. And
10 to 12, right?
Yeah, so of the commits, the ones that we do not anticipate signing with Texas A&M, or signing in this early window, I should say, are Terry Bussey and Dominic McKinley. Dalen Evans, defensive lineman out of Longview Pine Tree, is kind of up in the air. We're leaning toward him signing. I know that they were having conversations with him and his family late last night about the benefits of signing early, but he had mentioned potentially wanting to take some more visits. I would say 60-40. I think I'm leaning toward him signing with Texas A&M today, but certainly not a done deal or a decision made there. And then, I spoke about it from 7 to 8 live on the site. Anthony Smith, the linebacker out of Jasper, has not publicly left the Texas A&M commit class, but for all intents and purposes, I wouldn't count him as committed. Now, if he signs with Texas A&M today, I'll be pleasantly surprised because I really like Anthony Smith. I think he's a good player. I think he's got a lot of upside. This thing has just been trending in Texas's direction behind the scenes for probably 2 weeks now. So I think he's going to sign with the Longhorns today based off the intel that I've got. Could that all change when a 17, 18-year-old kid wakes up? Sure it could. And he has been committed to Texas A&M for a long time. He's got great relationships still in College Station. I think he's comfortable here. But, Texas is, for right now, they're the sexy program, man. They're in the playoff. Their NIL is running like gangbusters, and they've got an efficient system for it right now, and they're promoting it at a really high level. I mean, you saw last week they pumped out that, I forget, was like some kind of co-op where they're supercharging their NIL. So they're not being shy about it. And I do think, I'll let Billy speak more of that with how A&M's running it, but that's where Texas's momentum is based.
Yeah, I mean, and I think everybody knows the landscape of college football has shifted. I mean, when you introduce NIL, transfer portal, guys not really having to sit, I mean, it changes the game. And so, that first year, remember 22, everybody's up in arms about NIL and how that works. I mean, listen, it's legal. It's fair game now. Yeah. Do what you're supposed to do. So
I wasn't being critical of Texas.
No, absolutely not.
They know that it's a huge benefit to them, and they're pumping it out.
And for me, being a player, have played here, you only can go to war or take the field with the guys that want to be here. And, from the transfer portal and looking at all the guys that, may or may not transfer, coming in, listen, you're going to suit up with 11, our 11 versus your 11. And, I think A&M made the right hire. You got Elko here. He's pounding the pavement. He's hitting the streets. He's doing all the right things. And, the last time we had a defensive head coach, there were a lot of good things that happened in College Station.
You played for him.
RC, and then, before him, Jackie Sherrill.
Yeah.
So, I'm excited to see what's going to happen. But, again, the guys that want to be here, the guys that choose to be here, those are the guys that I'm excited about because, I wake up and I think about my signing day. It wasn't all of this. You have a gym full of people and all of those things. I signed in a small office and went to class. That's what it was. So, I just get excited. I understand these kids want to take their –
faxed it in.
and faxed it in. Yep. So, it's a big moment for these guys. They're going to sign hopefully one time and then, that's it. But, take advantage of the moment, take your visits, do those things. But hopefully we land him in the end.
That opening segment is called Coffee Talk, presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of the morning by going to texags.com/coffee. Billy, I assume you need some coffee.
Dunkin' Donuts. I need some TexAgs coffee.
It's been a moment. I think you were up pretty late last night, so good morning, buddy.
Good morning. I always stay up late during signing day, and we had nothing to talk about last night. So I battled some Amish-looking LSU fans from your neck of the woods, Brauninger.
I hope they weren't from Southeast Texas, but it was – I managed to slide through your mentions and your responses this morning. It's pretty entertaining.
I've never seen so many attractive people go after someone else's appearance in my life.
Man,
like I was getting ganged up on by a bunch of models.
The Zoolander comment, that ended me. I went to bed on that one.
I couldn't believe an LSU staffer commented on it.
Well, that deal, I didn't know that guy was a staffer at LSU. He and I need to have a little talk. So, I mean, I might have to go through Woodward or Brian Kelly to get a hold of this guy. He seems like a lower level staffer, but had a lot to say. My only thing out of that whole exchange, I did feel bad about going after Jordan Gilbert's missed tackle against Miami, because I'll say this was one of the moments of the year that I was like, man, this sucks for this team. Was in that game, Jordan actually, for LSU fans that don't know, played with a hurt shoulder, ended up missing the season with shoulder surgery. And I remember seeing him crying on the sideline after that game. He was so devastated, was wearing it on his sleeve, like how badly he wanted to win and how badly he wanted to make a play for his team. And that was when, to me, I was like, okay, I can rock with this dude, out on the field. Somebody that cares that much. So he brings that to LSU. That's great. And that part, to me, when they were playing that quote clip or whatever, like they like to do off our show, I was like, yeah, I don't like myself on that one in that moment. So apologies to Jordan, go ball out. The rest of it, shut your butts up. Have a little fun and enjoy the rivalry. I don't like LSU. I don't root for them. I like my LSU friends. I root against them even when they're not playing LSU. It's not because it's a rivalry. It's because of things like yesterday. Unbearable is the word that I like to use. But keep it coming. I enjoy it. The people with real common sense and a real brain enjoy it too. And I enjoy signing day every year, by the way.
I hate that they
even
moved
these
that
uneventful
game,
ones.
There's been a little bit of eventful. I mean, they had 5 this morning go in, come in.
It'll be uneventful
in terms of adding new late signing. But, if Kendall Jackson would have waited a day, there would have been a little bit of pop there because he was completely off the radar until he made that decision yesterday. Lagway goes into Florida. He signed with Florida this morning, and that was the latest intel I'd gotten last night was he had told Florida that he intends to sign with them early in the morning. And the only way that would have gotten interesting, I think, Billy, is if it had gone – if we got to lunchtime and it still wasn't a letter of intent sitting in somewhere. But we felt like A&M had kind of fallen back in the last couple of days with USC.
USC came in and played their game. Look, I don't know this, and I think there are certain times when you see a recruitment and you see somebody that goes somewhere and you go, I don't know if that's where they really wanted to be. And a lot of times that's with Texas kids that end up out of state. I hope it works out well for him at Florida. I think he's a special talent kid. I hope it works out well for him at Florida. But I like Miles O'Neal, and I've always liked him since A&M took him when Bobby Petrino was here, kind of handpicked him when we started watching his tape. I'm really high on that. I'm glad that they didn't feel like they had to take Maddox because he was committed that long. That's also not the right thing to do for a player or program. So I'm glad that worked out for him. And I guess, did he sign with Ole Miss yet? But that's
I don't know.
That's where everybody's expecting. So
he's committed there.
Quarterback position, I think Elko and the Aggies go full bore into 25 and try to find Colin Klein tries to find that guy. It is a little disappointing that they weren't able to get here and get situated sooner, and that's the nature of coaching changes in the early signing date, because I do think they could have made a real run and gotten Lagway, and I do think he would have been Klein's kind of priority target. And if they made up this much ground in a week and a half, 2 weeks, then you can imagine what they could have done at a traditional signing date.
Well, and I also think we got to say it that they were put behind the 8 ball by some stuff that happened with the previous staff with Lagway. No question.
I mean,
well, I want to talk about Miles O'Neal.
I want to talk about what we're talking about. I've been doing this a long time. Anytime there's a coaching change, we can go point out every single mistake along the way in recruiting, because that's part of it, right? You're recruiting, the mistakes become magnified and stuff. I don't think that was as much to do with mistakes where I think that's just convenient finger pointing, and I would
disagree.
I will pick it. Well, I'm not going to carry the bathwater here on this show today. I will say that recruitment had a lot more to do with a lot of other things than any mistakes made along the way by A&M. And even had they not made them, I think it's still difficult to ask Elko and Klein to come in.
Sure,
in
yeah,
2
no
weeks
question, yeah,
and flip a guy of that magnitude.
By the
you
way,
want to replay Miles O'Neal?
We just found out Jalen Miller is official with Colorado, guys. That just came down here in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, like I said this morning, I don't think that he even had A&M papers to sign.
Really?
I don't think he had an LOI from A&M this morning, based off what I was told last night.
I think
so that was crazy. That went from A&M in home on Wednesday, and then he's committed to Colorado on Friday out of nowhere.
I'm going to be really interested to see where this class ends up. As in, we're seeing a lot of guys from the 22 class, transfer, and every time there's one, the media wants to make it feel like it's 3.
They go nuts.
Yeah, I mean, making the bottom scroll of ESPN when Georgia and schools like Georgia and USC actually have more guys going in right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be interested to see where this class shakes out, not just in terms of the guys that A&M signs, but also the guys around the country that, that have gone, like a Draylen Miller, like a Lagway, these players that have kind of scattered out from Texas around the country this year. I'll be interested to see, how it plays out for them.
Yeah,
this is going to be one of those classes where we look back and go, was the hand-wringing worth it, or was it much ado about nothing?
Yeah, it's just, and I said it a minute ago, the landscape is so different. I mean, it's you have the opportunity now to go to a program like a Colorado, kind of test the waters. That doesn't work out. You have the ability to come home. I mean, the rules
if you don't burn bridges.
Yeah, it just, so when you're approaching this game as a business like college athletes are doing now, are you choosing the place that the scheme fits the best for you, or you can make the biggest impact, or are you going somewhere where, financially it makes the most sense? And I mean, let's be realistic. You have to weigh those things. Being a 18-year-old kid, you're being recruited by some of the biggest programs in the country, and these are decisions that they're able to make, but they're able to come back and kind of fix those things if it doesn't work out. So it's the nature of the beast, and it's unfortunate that we're letting so much talent get out of the state, because this place is a hotbed. You see the Ohio States, Colorados, Florida, they're coming in here because they know the caliber of kids that we have. So it's going to be interesting to see as we move forward, with Elko and this program, how much of that talent are we able to keep home, and they can come in here and make an impact in this program.
Everything's so layered.
I think we got a break.
We can break here. And when we come back, I did give CT an assignment overnight. I wanted him to evaluate some of the talent coming into this, so we'll get into that. Also want to read this message from Drew on the YouTube chat. I don't know why Nuno at the Social Center looks kind of funny. It's like a grown parent sitting at the kiddie chair. That is the truth, and I do have my coloring book here. So we'll get into some of the talent when we come back. But first, we're going to keep it classy and talk Fargo's. I'd like to take this whole panel there for lunch, but I know we're busy. One of the top 50 barbecue joints in the world, according to Texas Monthly. OB's not here today, but he wishes he could be there at Fargo's. They sell out early on their specials. They encourage you to pick it up and get there as early as possible. Very good for catering as well. So today is Wednesday. Their special on a Wednesday is chopped beef on a baked potato. They also have the beef ribs on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Tomorrow, the pork chops. They've been around this community for about 22 years. They can take care of all kind of weekends, office parties, weddings, anniversaries, funerals, and dinners. 1701 South Texas Avenue in Bryan. Without a doubt, the best barbecue in town. That's their trademark because it's true. It's Fargo's. Go check it out. Welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. This is our 16th annual TexAgs National Signing Day show, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. We want to remind you to have fun out there with Academy Sports and Outdoors. As I mentioned earlier, I gave CT the assignment of kind of breaking down some talent. He picked a couple dudes to talk about who have not signed yet. One we hope signs at some point, Terry Bussey, and the other is Ernest Campbell. CT, where do you want to take it?
Starting with Ernest Campbell, man, when I turned the tape on and just watched him, it was just the athleticism, the suddenness. I won't go as far to say that he is, as shifty as Dante Hall, but I mean, to make guys be able to miss in short areas and have the speed to be able to hit the corner and make the big plays, I just thought, when he really jumped off the tape to me, and I know he's not signed yet, but
we think he will. He will probably this morning. That'll be done.
Yeah. For me, it's not about the stars. It's about guys that make plays when the lights come on. And, some guys you see it, and, I just think that this guy could be one of those people,
See, you had an impact as a freshman at A&M, right?
More on special teams.
In second year. But, I mean, you played and contributed a good football team as a freshman in his second year. You're not as small. How tall do you think Campbell is? 5'8"?
5'7", 5'8",
5'7", probably.
You were bigger than him, but you were still like a small –
Yeah.
You played every sport. You weren't living in the weight room coming out of Madisonville. Small town guy like him. With that kind of speed, how much will he be able to overcome that lack of size early on?
I mean, now I can't compare him, or I won't compare him to a Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
But he was able to play in this league, not being the biggest guy in the world. He's having success in the NFL. Not to put the cart before the horse, but when you have a guy that has speed and can change the game and can stretch the field and take the top off defenses, it's different. You can't teach that part of the game. And, the biggest thing is to utilize that speed, put guys in positions to where they've got to have a quick reaction and decide what they're going to do fast. And so, his suddenness, I think that's what makes, Evan Stewart so dangerous, because you get on a DB's toes, you press and make him make a decision. They can't be right, in those situations.
Yeah.
And then just the athleticism to be able to shift and change directions. I mean, you can't teach those things. Those things are hard to come by.
Bronny, I'm picturing him and Colin Klein's offense and what Klein likes to do within the running game as well. And I could see him factoring in just getting him in motion, pre-snap, handing him the ball, anything misdirection, and just to take advantage of that speed as a runner and a pass catcher and in the return game. Like, I'm just big. We talked about this a lot when they signed A-Chain. And I'm, again, like, now we're sitting here with he's some combination of Devontae Smith and Devon A-Chain. But people that are paying attention understand what we're saying. You want to continue to upgrade the speed of your roster with every class at every position. Like, to me, every year when you sign portal and a recruiting class, I think you want to go back into that office and look at your football team and say, we're a faster, more athletic football team. Now, there are obviously other things that go with that at certain positions in terms of size and who are the winners, who aren't. And by the way, he is a winner, big time. Was it Timpson that he
beat as a
had
junior?
A big game against
as a junior.
Yeah,
They won state last year.
Yeah, and so, like, you want guys that have all this, but what I want every year is to look back and go, we're a faster, more athletic football team. And when you get guys that are that fast, that really helps you be able to walk in that room that day and say, we're a faster football team today.
Yeah. Jason Howell just texted us and said the last conversation that he had with Ernest Campbell, he mentioned that Colin Klein talked to him about Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah.
And the impact Deuce Vaughn had in his offense. Now, CT, you said not as shifty as Dante Hall. He's certainly straight line faster than Dante, right? Like, this is electric juice. It's 10-2-ish, 100 meters. He's going to run track here at A&M. The build is slight, but here's one thing. I like the creativity, the positional versatility Billy mentioned, getting him in motion and handing him the ball. All you need to do is create that little bit of doubt, that little bit of hesitation, somebody with bad eyes in the secondary, and he runs by him. I do think whoever the receiver coach is going to be important here. because he's a small town kid that just probably doesn't have a lot of route running background, you know? So him understanding how, even though I'm small, to create separation, I think the wide receiver coach for Ernest Campbell is going to be really important.
Yeah. I'm excited to find out who that is, by the way.
Sure.
There's nobody yet. I don't believe.
I'm available. Yeah. I can do
you
it.
and T. Murph.
Yeah.
Murph has
sell
volunteered.
houses.
Murph has volunteered his services over Facebook more than one. I'll tell you what. If anybody we know that can coach, that walk off the street and coach wide receivers, it's probably Murph. He'd take it so seriously.
Yeah.
He's actually worked with A&M wideouts. He doesn't get any credit for that, but back in the day, he was literally like, "I'm here. If you guys want to call me." I mean, same thing. Like some of these former players in town, I'd like to see. Especially the most successful ones, you'd like to see some of that connection between current and former players during such a long off season. But yeah, I'm joking about that. But at the position coach level, I think Bronny hit on it. Like that's been a spot where for the last few years it's been stagnant. Let's say we haven't seen a lot happening there, and there's a reason that upon arrival, a couple coaches weren't here anymore. I mean, let's just look at it in reality. There's not a receiver. I understand the Adazio thing from the standpoint of Elko's got his O-line coach coming with him from Duke. That's not the case at wide receiver right now. That position's still open. You don't have a receivers coach. So that's been stagnant there. And so O-line and receiver have been a couple of the underperforming positions. Thank God for this season that not guys like Anais and Noah was in and out of the lineup, but could have changed that. But you saw Moose kind of languish on the bench, and they couldn't connect with him to get him out there. Like those things can be corrected and can be corrected immediately. And then,
you're right.
I
do think that's an important hire because of all that stuff you just said.
Some good young talent. You're going to see Micah Tease in this bowl game, and the players are talking about him. His teammates are really excited about what he's doing in bowl practices. It would not surprise me if we saw Micah Tease have, I'm not saying some massive game, but one of those games where fans go into the offseason and go, oh, okay, I wasn't really counting on mentioning him with Noah and Moose, Jade Walker, but here we are. I still think they need – are we going to take some time? I want to take some time in this 3-hour show because they're not going to sign nearly as many as we used to or as we're used to. I want to take some time to really talk like portal between now and August. Like what do we need to see them add?
I purposefully avoided that in that 7, 8 o'clock hour because I didn't know what you wanted to hit on, but we can definitely do that.
Yeah.
We do have more guys to break down on film. It's like I want to talk Miles O'Neal with CT and McGee, obviously, when he gets in here. But I think the portal, because of player acquisition, now runs until May and June. So there's no sense in you pulling your hair out about what Mike Elko does today or in February because you don't know what the roster is going to look like until the summer. That's the way this thing is right now.
Yeah, I will say it's certainly not going to be as ripe for the picking in the spring during that next portal window as it will be now. I mean, now is when you can really hit home runs. But I will also say, you saw Evan Stewart go in the portal yesterday. Okay? That's a big-time name that went in the portal.
Yep.
There are going to be other big-time names in college football that go in the portal. How long ago was it that Malachi Nelson went in? A couple days ago?
A few days ago.
I mean, big names are still going in the portal, whether they were big-name recruits, whether they're proven big-time college football players. One thing that we've quickly learned about Elko and this staff, a lot of these ones are not going to catch them off guard. Whether they get the guys or not yet, they are monitoring that portal daily, hourly, right?
They have a guy on staff that is just a portal
guy, yeah.
Portal guy.
And on top of that, that doesn't mean just hitting refresh on a button. Any of us can do that.
Right.
That means studying the portal. That means trying to get out in front of it. So when certain guys enter, you're already 3 steps in front.
Yeah.
See, there's a difference between what people think I'm talking about when I say tampering. When I say tampering, that means consistent contact between staffers and players on other rosters.
Yep.
What I mean by portal recruiting is if you hear that Chris Taylor's unhappy, he might be looking to transfer. There are other means of communication where I'm not talking to Chris Taylor and make sure that I'm in the mix when Chris Taylor does enter the portal. That's what I'm talking about. To me, when I say tampering, I'm talking about directly contacting, having ongoing communications with players, like what the Lincoln dating back to Lincoln Riley, Kyler Murray, that type stuff.
Yeah, that's the ugly part of that thing. And like you said, and
they won't do anything about it.
No.
So maybe you should just do that too.
I mean, if you hear grumblings of a guy going in the portal, why not be there so that you can make sure that you're putting yourself in a position to win that service.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the part of this whole process that's ugly. And like you said, I don't know that they're going to fix it. What do you do to fix it? How do you prove it? So
I said during that 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock live stream, it was like 2 years ago, the word tampering was like the worst curse word you could think of in college football.
Yeah,
now it's so widely accepted that it's just everybody knows it's happening, everybody's doing it because there's no repercussion. And so some of these really good head coaches have turned out to be kind of hypocritical with this stuff. Nick Saban, Lane Kiffin, they've kind of flipped. They've talked about how awful the portal is in NIL. Who's been more aggressive in the portal with NIL than Lane Kiffin?
I almost wanted to use that nickname I had for Brian Kelly, but I don't have another 3 hours to argue with people tonight. I'll just call him Grinding Brian. Look, the guy lecturing me on Twitter the other day from the LSU staff, they're like, those dudes, there are plenty of guys on this football team that allegedly had NIL offers to go play at LSU over the last couple of years, 3 years actually. And by the way, speaking of LSU, can I say a recruit that I really am a fan of, and I really wish A&M would have signed him, and I think he's going to be not only a great player, but I actually enjoy his social media. A lot of times I'll unfollow. You're following recruits and their stuff, and then they go to another school. You just unfollow. I'll do it if they're not following you back. If they're followed back, like, look, if they can put up with my crap, I can put up with them, getting into the school they're at. Mm-hmm. But Gabe Relaford, A, I think he's going to be a terrific player there. B, here's a guy that probably sticks with A&M. Maybe not. LSU would have fought hard for him, but his position coach was leaving. The guy that recruited him was leaving. His head coach was leaving, and he stayed in state at a school that's winning right now. Mm-hmm. More power to you. Go out there and ball out. I think that dude is going to be a really good player. I follow his social media. I think he's going to be like a real asset to that program. That's one of the ones that I'm like, damn, you'd have loved to see A&M get him, because I think he rose up in the rankings, Bernie, but I think he was really underrated. Nuno's. But I want to come back and talk.
We're only 8 minutes late. Don't worry about it, guys.
Okay, I want to come back and talk about the
passive
potential.
aggressive.
Yeah, I know. I want to do the scared of Louis, aka scared of Louis. I want to do the potential D-line haul. Talk those guys through when we come back.
All right, we'll do that when we come back. Right now we're talking Don't Replace It, Lift It with Ascend Concrete Lifting and Support, 979-933-8527. Locally an Aggie owned and operated concrete lifting support company that provides an easy, clean service at half the price of replacement. They are problem solvers when it comes to concrete issues. So if you got a driveway that's got some lifts in some parts and it's just uneven, and you've got old folks that walk and they could potentially fall, or you just don't want that eyesore, they can help fix it and make it look seamless, almost like brand new. That's what they do there. They're honest, 60 years of professional construction and concrete experience. Brian Dickerson runs the shop, and he's the best out there, Aggie-owned, as I mentioned earlier. They'll educate you on the lifting process. Their service area is local, statewide, and nationwide. Remember, 979-933-8527. They can raise and stabilize any form of concrete slab. Once the project is finished, the appearance is close to seamless to the eyes. You got residential service out there. You got commercial and industrial out there. They can fix curbs, gutters, sidewalks, airport runways, roads, streets, highways, factory floors, you name it. Fraction of the cost of replacement, remember, a fraction of the cost. Convenient, free estimates. Follow Ascend Lift on Facebook and on Instagram, or call 979-933-8527 for an appointment. Don't replace it, lift it. We're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. If we do have any guests, they will be on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. That number, 979-693-1150. By the way, this signing day special is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Billy, when we last left it, you wanted to talk about what the defensive line could look like, at least from this class standpoint. I'll let you start it from there.
No, I was mentioning Relaford and LSU a minute ago, and it just feels like a lot of, that's been a shaky position, not only in terms of the portal, and so much attention's been paid to guys like Nolan and Diggs, and not enough, I don't think, to guys like Shamar Stewart. Mm-hmm. I think Shamar Turner is more of an NFL A&M decision. Otherwise, he's great with A&M right now, and that's a massive deal moving forward. Guys like Gabe Brownlow-Dindy,
DJ Hicks,
Albert Regis, DJ Hicks, who we sat here and talked about last year as one of the top signings in the country. Mm-hmm. Malik Silla.
My guy Samu.
Samu Kennedy.
Yep.
Who's really turning heads as a pass rusher during these bowl practices. Rylan Kennedy, that is, for those of you that don't remember. That was a late add last year that we thought was really intriguing, and he's starting to develop. So D-line, I think if Shamar Turner comes back, is not an issue, but you can help. And that was another deal about Relaford. He was going to be a midterm guy. But, man, Dalen Evans is a big-time recruit, right? There's a lot of years where Evans is one of your top signees. If you say, look at this defensive class, who stands out? There were a lot of years we've covered where that guy's name would be on the very short list. And then, look, I'm intrigued, Bronny, by the addition this morning, and I know Sean Spencer is because he clearly got here and said, that's a guy I need to bring with me.
Yeah, and when you watch Kendall Jackson on tape, and this is my limited football knowledge coming out here, but guys that play with their hands well on the defensive line, I think that's if you kind of got it early, it's a big deal. And I watch the difference between him and a guy like Dominic McKinley, who's a 5-star because of just the uber athletic talent that he's got.
Yeah,
that's a big difference where I think Kendall Jackson is further ahead. He's 6'4", 250. He's played everywhere CT from stand-up outside linebacker to a zero nose. Now, what do we know about Mike Elko from his time as a defensive coordinator here at Texas A&M? He likes these big-bodied guys that he can play at end, at tackle. He did it with
Shamar Turner.
He did it with Kingsley Kiki. He did it with DeMarvin Leal and Michael Clemens. The list goes on. He likes big-bodied defensive linemen. So I think when they watch this kid's tape, Mike Elko's going, okay, if he wants to come, I can certainly do something with that. There's a lot of punch at the line of scrimmage. Very physical, leverages himself pretty well. Like, there's enough here to be a real player in this league.
You say that, and I'm thinking about even this year, like with Turner, hopefully, and Hicks.
Yeah.
And Shamar Stewart, like what he can do with the versatility of those guys, but particularly Turner and Hicks are true tweeners. And I think he'll end up being a really filled out 285 easily. With his height and length, I think he's a 280. You know who he kind of reminds me of, CT, body-wise? He's a little bigger at this age, but he's got like a Rocky Bernard body style.
And I think it's missed that, you'll get here, you'll be on the training table, you'll lift and do the things that are going to help you to get bigger, faster, stronger. And, before it's all said and done, I mean, you'll probably look up and he's 6'4", like you said, 280, 285, but it will be healthy weight. You know, it's not going to be from eating a bunch of Jack in the Box and stuff at midnight. So, Bronny, you said it. I mean, physical at the line of scrimmage. He has a punch at the point of attack. And, to be able to get off blocks, to be able to chase down ball carriers, he's athletic enough
good pad
to
level
be able
I think
to do those things.
That's another thing that you look at high school defensive linemen, they just overwhelm. Offensive linemen, too. A lot of times they just overwhelm
people. Too easy for them, yeah.
Right, and so they play with bad pad level. This kid plays with good pad level. And another thing, and this matters, I think, to Mike Elko with as much as the word culture is being thrown around. I got a report on him last night, said he's off the charts as a human being and will be great for the locker room.
Yeah, that's good to hear because this is a guy that did, we knew about him for what, a few days before.
I heard about him Sunday night was the first time that his name was brought up. Yeah.
Monday?
Tuesday,
yeah. I mean, so it wasn't like 99 times out of 100, even if it just kind of pops up, we've had a few weeks to vet or some legitimate runway to kind of figure out who the play. This is one of those ones that, we can sit here and go, it didn't surprise us because we knew about it 24 hours before it happened, but it was a surprise. And it did come out of nowhere. And similar to Rylan Kennedy last year, but not nearly. This was much shorter landing strip before Jackson was an Aggie. I'll tell you what, when you talk about hands, if I had one complaint over the last few years for this A&M D-line, they've been great. They've been the team's best unit for the most part. Maybe one, like with Spiller and A-Chain, it's running back. But, they've been over, like Elijah's tenure and the Elko, the Jimbo tenure, 6 years. D-line has been the strength, I think, of the football program. But if there's one complaint I would have, and it's only one really, it would be. I hope Sean Spencer is adept at coaching this, and I think his NFL background kind of makes me think he might be. It would be that they don't do the best job on the interior getting off of blocks. There has been a lot over the years where a lot of games where A&M's guys, you'll see them get that initial punch, even that push, but you'll see a lot of guys on the inside locked onto blocks. And at end too, on those edges. Mm-hmm. How many times do we see an A&M DN trying to spin off, but he's locked in and engaged because he didn't get there with his hands? That's something that I'd be really interested to sit down and talk to Sean Spencer about and see, like, what's your background there and the resume and where he's been, and particularly you see something like the New York Giants in the NFL, that kind of jumps out at me because, like you said, Bronny, and Steve and Seth can attest to this, you don't last very long at that next level unless you understand how important hands are. It is something that you can't necessarily – you can teach it, but if you've got it going in, it's a huge plus.
Yeah, and I don't pretend to know that position by any stretch, but I do know violent hands, shock that offensive lineman at the point of attack, be able to create that separation. Now they can't pull you in and be able to control that block and take you where they want to. So I think it's very important, and hopefully, coach is able to coach those things up, really coach, the D lineman to be able to use those hands, get off those blocks. But I think the physicality, the violence at the point of attack is going to be a huge point of emphasis.
Dalen Evans and Don McKinley, we'll wait and see today on Evans, right? Don McKinley not expected to sign. For A&M's sake, you hope the 5-star doesn't sign today because I don't think anyone across the street is expecting to get his signature today. I know there are a couple other schools that are hoping to get his signature. Texas, I think, kind of sitting atop that list. If he doesn't sign today, that will bode well for A&M. Not bode well, but it will give the Aggies a chance to get that defensive staff settled, get him on campus hopefully another time, get it done. But we'll talk more about Evans.
Al with a report 3 minutes ago. Continue to hear positive stuff in regards to Dalen Evans signing early. Not ready to call it definitively yet, but like the way it's trending.
And we'll talk about that if it happens. That'll be a big righty. What do you got for us?
Well, let's hit a break here because we'll have a very short segment coming back. By the way, the Angry Elephant is our social center sponsor. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. Like your politics, love your bar. Find an Angry Elephant near you. Bryan, College Station, Magnolia, and San Antonio. We'll be back in a few. Final segment of the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. It's TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. And this is our TexAgs National Signing Day special brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. NASCAR segment. CT's final few minutes here with us as we close out the Go Hour. CT, just some final thoughts on some of the guys that signed and what the future you think could look like.
Excited about the guys who did sign. Obviously that is, we want guys who want to be here, and want to encourage Aggie fans, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. It's not going to be that big flashy class from 22, but we're going to get some guys that can play. We're going to get some guys that are able to play the game of football. They want to be here. They're excited about, having the opportunity to play at Texas A&M. And, I'm excited to get them on campus. I think a lot of work is going to be done through the portal year one, but in Elko we trust. I think he's doing the right things. He's creating the right habits. He's doing all of those positive things. So, we're going to reserve judgment to see how this class really shakes out. But I think it really comes down to a couple of key factors to get them here, whether they sign today or not. But, this could be a solid recruiting class, not the over-the-top recruiting classes that we've had in the past, but it's going to be a good start. Those guys are going to be contributors. They're going to make an impact, I think, with this program. And, we'll see. I can't wait till, 11, 12, 1 o'clock to see, who all has signed and what this class is going to shape up and become.
CT, I appreciate your work today. Thanks very much, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Hey,
Thanks, CT.
Hey, we got a post-game show coming up, right? You're going to be around for that?
Oh, I was thinking about going to the bowl game, but I don't know, man. I hate Houston traffic, so I may not venture down there.
We'll discuss. All right, thank you, CT. When we come back here on our signing day special, Stephen McGee in studio. We might even do a little musical chair. Let's talk about that more next on TexAgs Radio. Welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. It is actually our signing day special, 16th annual, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. We did the old switcheroo. I was at the Angry Elephant using Social Center. I'm back at the main desk because we figured out we could fit everybody. Stephen McGee's with us. Hello, Stephen.
Morning.
How are you, sir?
I'm amazing.
Yeah?
You know what I did last night?
What's that?
Went on a little thermal vision hunt. It'd been a while. Got into some coyotes. Got into some pigs. I was showing the guys in the back some thermal vision video. It was good.
Should have brought the goggles in here with you. Turn all the lights off, and you could hunt Richard in the office. Richard's got to hide from you. You got the thermals on.
Well, all that hot air that comes out of your back end would also be visible.
That's right.
There's no more denying
or the front end.
Okay, now
a lot of hot air
in this joint.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to go hunting with you one day. You said you were going to take me. That was what was it, snipe hunting?
Snipe hunting?
Yeah.
Dude, I saw a snipe last night.
Huge?
It was a monster.
Yeah.
It was a trophy. I told the guys, like, we need to save that one for Nuno.
Well, we're going to do it. We'll bring Gabe too, all right? We'll all go.
Sounds like Gabe in his oversized sport coat. Dude, yes. I want to get Liucci on one too.
Yeah.
A snipe?
We've been talking about this for 10 years.
Oh.
I'll go in a second.
All right. Y'all heard it, right? You heard that?
I'm in.
We're going to need documentation. If that happens, I need video.
No, I've been hunting.
With him, though?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've been hunting with people, with real hunters.
Is McGee not one?
Correct.
Yeah, I'm saying he is one. I'm saying I've been with real
Now,
ones.
these night vision goggles, do they come for people that are blind with the lights on, or like do you have to have a prescription to see clear in the dark too?
I'm a better shot than you'd think, which is crazy. Just like if you put a trash can right there, like anywhere in this room, the odds of me hitting it would be like 99%. Look at that.
What did you go, donut or did you go biscuit?
I'm literally eating a bite out of several different donuts.
And then he's going to make Allie go get more food because he sampled everything.
If you go look over there, there's like 4 donuts with 1 bite out of them.
You always do that. That's the Billy move.
I'm claiming them for later.
He won't eat them. It's like whenever he gets the dessert, he'll take 2 bites out of the dessert.
How about McGrinder over here? I take him to lunch. I take him to lunch the other day with my buddy Cedars from Yeti. And so him and Swope come in. We don't even sit down. And he goes, what happened when we said, before we even sat down, he went
How many protein feeders you have for every 100 acres?
That was an actual
He's already
question.
texting his ranch manager like, hey, how many feeders do we have? Poor guy.
McGrinder.
You got any photos of some kills this year? He's like, well, this is this year's kills. Y'all want me to go to last year's?
Well, look, for Stephen, it's payback, though, for all the grinders that have approached him over the years to talk football. That was your moment of payback.
It is. It's like the elite groupie session, right? I mean, like this guy, if you're in the, like his level of hunting is equivalent to like Dallas Cowboys. It'd be like we were
Playing
at lunch with Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott. Like his stuff is legit, man. No cap.
So speaking of quarterback play, what about a segue there?
Yo, let's get into Miles O'Neill. I asked you to kind of look.
Oh,
okay.
What did you call me? Why?
No, I want to hear what you said. I was like, yeah.
Are you anticipating skepticism by me already?
No, I just wanted to. I had to lump you in.
I figured you'd like this kid.
6'5", 220.
He is a big kid, big frame. I like it. Like he's not. I don't think he's gonna wow anybody on any one skill set. Like he doesn't have a big arm.
I think he's got a huge arm.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just watched the private video.
Oh yeah.
He's posted some private workout video. You got to understand too. I don't know. So he made a transition from Massachusetts high school football as a junior to New Jersey as a senior, and that's what people were skeptical of. Okay, like a step up in competition, how would he play?
Yeah.
And he played
Jersey
really
high school
well.
Football's legit.
Yeah, right.
He's scrappy. He throws a great deep ball. A lot of fade routes on his tape. He's a good athlete. I wouldn't say he's a great athlete. He moves around and makes plays with his legs. And man, I like it. I like
Watch
guys
this
that
throw.
come in that are a little bit overlooked, that are have a chip on their shoulder. Yeah, I mean, he's going to check a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
And look, Colin Klein has done more with less. I don't think anybody expects this guy to come on and be an instant impact player.
Right.
He doesn't need to be. We've got some really good quarterbacks in front of him. So I wouldn't be surprised if he comes to A&M and does big things. Maybe I'm a little bit biased too. And I'm curious y'all's take on this. Does it mean more to play at A&M if you were born and raised in Texas?
Sure. We had this discussion a bunch, and like, especially now with the portal stuff, look, this wasn't Mike Elko, wasn't the one that took a chance on this kid. Bobby Petrino offered him, he committed. Yeah. Mike Elko obviously really liked the tape enough to keep him around because they had a quarterback exit the class that had been committed to the previous staff as well. Yeah. So they really liked this kid's tape. But you bring up a good point, Stephen, and me and Billy have discussed this, especially in the era of the portal, and maybe it changes with Mike Elko. Maybe he goes, okay, if we're going to take a chance on a kid, don't we want to take a chance on a kid? And I'm not saying that Miles O'Neal is a chance. I think there's a lot to really, really like here.
Yeah.
But if we're going to take a chance on a kid, does it make more sense to take that chance on a kid from Texas? Because wearing the jersey might mean a little bit more.
Yeah, I feel like you've got to make it work. Like you're like, you go home and it's like your family, everyone, like this is your beloved. Like you are here. Like if I'm going to school at Rutgers, like it doesn't mean as much to me. And I've always know in the back of my pocket, I could always transfer to go somewhere else, right? Or if things go really well, I could always upgrade and go back home. Whereas if you're already home, you got nowhere to go and you've got to make it work. Like it just means more. Maybe I'm making too much into that.
No, it's not a crazy thing to think about. We have discussed that topic amongst us in the office a little bit.
I think on an individual basis, it's harder to apply because every kid's experience is completely different. And you see, look, we just saw a corner from freaking East Texas go out to Oregon State because he was under-recruited. People didn't think he was as good as he was. He went out there, had a great season at Oregon State this year, then had a chance to come back home to Texas, play at A&M in the SEC, and he chose to go to Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And who knows the reasons why. Today I'm skeptical every time. But he went to Tennessee, who is not an SEC powerhouse. They did not have some massive, follow-up season under Josh Heupel. They're kind of on the same plane as A&M, just year in, year out right now. They're kind of one of those teams trying to ascend and break through. But so I think individually it just depends. And Miles O'Neal could be a guy that comes here from New Jersey and has a terrific career. And look, Chase Besantis was that type of guy. And I think that's why he was so upset about. He really, like, the leaving thing, I think had way more to do with Adazio and that whole situation, and then realized, man, I like it here. I'm playing football here. I want to come back, and came back just yesterday. Fadil Diggs and Isaiah Rakes would have finished up here were it not for the connection with Elijah, and them offering, Fadil's brother. So it can work, and I think this is a guy that I'll give a little more credit to the most. These guys that stuck with it, guys like him, guys like Carner, guys like Afua from out of state that stuck with A&M through a coaching change. That tells me, and by the way, they're not going to keep probably any of the staff, so it's not even like their recruiter was staying. So the guys that did, there's the panicking Leones. Guys that did that, to me, I put a little extra by their name at Texas A&M and saying that, hey, they stuck with it through a coaching change. So these are the out-of-state guys that are going, no, I want to go play football at Texas A&M. I have a special appreciation for that, and I think Miles O'Neal at quarterback, Bronny, like you said, he's a guy who committed. They really liked what they saw. This was a Petrino special is what this was, and his stock just went up and up. I mean, he had a great, you look at that great senior year right there.
Yeah. High possibility that 5-star defensive lineman L.J. McCray no longer signs today. He's committed to Florida, one of the top defensive linemen in the class. There's some real – Florida's got problems.
Yeah, they do. And that's, again, I mean, not to go back to it, but, Nuno, that's where you, see Alagway going there, and it's like, man, I just wonder why – I get it. It's 2023, but I wonder why Alagway couldn't just tap the brakes and say, let's wait and see what happens with this Florida class. Let's wait and see what happens with my relationship with Colin Klein and A&M, and let's see if there's any other USCs that pop up. could have waited.
He could have. But you know what? To Mike Elko and the staff's credit, you don't have to have another scholarship quarterback. You're going to go in the next season with 4 right now. Connor, Jalen.
I like Marcel Reed a lot, so I do feel a lot better.
Right.
And Jalen wows me every time I talk to him.
Yeah.
And we all know how we feel about Connor.
Marcel's got a little twitch.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, in his game. I mean, obviously he's got to develop as a passer, but Jalen, you got to tip your hat to him and all he's done. But then, you guys know how I feel about Connor, and for us to be able to retain him has been huge. I love what Elko's done though from a big picture. I get the sense that he's getting rid of a lot of the facade and the 5-star, and he's going out and he's getting production, and he's more or less getting guys that I would label as overlooked with a chip on their shoulder. He's kind of switching up the DNA. Like, he's going after substance, not this profile of guys that come in here and feel like A&M owes them something when they haven't done anything.
Yeah.
He's going to flip that script in a world of it's all about me and put emphasis back on the team. I love what he did from a coaching perspective. Day one, he eliminated people that needed to be gone. And then in this portal era, saying, hey, if you don't want to be here, get out. And I love it. You know, the transfer announcement with Evan Stewart. I know you guys can't say this, but I can. I love it. Like, I want people that want to be here.
Yep.
No, I agree with that completely. And I'll tell you what, just I'm not going to say anything he said, but I had a fascinating conversation after we did the interview yesterday with Anais Smith, just about, and look, Anais will be the first one to tell you, like, he capitalized on NIL like he should have as a team star player the last 3 years, and coming back and bypassing the NFL and coming back from injury. That, to me, is what NIL is all about. Mm-hmm. But we had a fascinating conversation just about, he just asked me, and the only thing I'll say is he asked me point blank, what do you think about high school guys coming in and making more NIL than like the star play? And that is a common thing that's going to go on in every locker room, and has been going on every locker room around the country. And that just led us down a whole nother road. And I'm like, man, Anais has really thought this out. And coming from a player's perspective, I'd love to get him back again when he's done and prepare him for the NFL to talk about just the state of college football and where it's heading, as a guy that was here for 5 full years and watched it change. But, man, that right there is the kind of guy you're talking about. And needs, Bronny, you and I talk about this all the time. You are not going to win in the Southeastern Conference without a team full of NFL dudes, high draft picks, game-changing, 5-star talent.
Yep.
It literally has never happened since A&M's joined that league, and probably dating back. Even Auburn, elite talent on that football team. They were just not picked high early.
Yeah.
Remember D. Ford and the other pass rusher, and my man, the running back that was a Heisman finalist, Nick Marshall, Trey Mason. You can't win without elite talent. Look at LSU. Look at Georgia. You can maybe get there out of another conference. You can't do it here. But you also, if you go back and probably look at every one of those teams, they had dudes with chips on their shoulder and something to prove. You have to have enough of those guys in your program.
The ideal scenario
Anais.
is you find an Anais Smith or a 5-star talented kid that is the Torian York mentality of Torian York, and he proved to be a dadgum near a 5-star player this year.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. There's a threshold that you have to be above. You can win games, I think, in this league. Ole Miss has done it with lesser talent, but you can't win the league without a bunch of real NFL dudes and depth to do it. So,
and in fairness, the reason Ole Miss wins a lot of those games is based on they don't have the depth of it to navigate a whole season right. But the reason they're winning games, whether it be Hugh Freeze or Lane Kiffin, is elite playmakers typically at the skill spots.
Yeah.
Freeze had some on defense.
Isn't it surprising, guys? I know it's National Signing Day, but Evan going into the portal any other time of year, or even just months ago, would have led the show. Today it's just Evan's in the portal.
Yeah, I think it was expected. I mean, I know a lot of people were getting their hopes up the longer he stayed, and they try to read into cryptic tweets and whatnot. But I think people within the program, I'm speak for Mike Elko here, and I could be wrong, but I think he had hoped to keep him. He's a talent, and your new coaching staff, and you're going to go hire a new receivers coach, so maybe we can get through. Kind of change the equation with him a little bit because he's already on campus. He is that talented. But by the same token, I think A&M and Elko and everyone else knew that he was probably going to jump at a certain specific date. And when he did so, they've kind of been expecting that. And I think there's a real opportunity to improve just the whole setup. Guys like Ja'Day Walker are loved on that team. Noah Thomas. This gives Moose I think a new lease on life when Anias and Evan leave the slot.
But do you guys feel like Evan Stewart leaving is a huge loss to that wide receiver core? I don't. Like I know he was talented coming in here, but I never saw the elite playmaking burst that I would expect out of like the Ole Miss kid that had a Heisman game against.
I always thought I wanted more from him after the catch.
Yeah.
A lot of times. But yeah, really good player, undoubtedly talented.
I think they had too many
didn't
separate guys too.
Separate versus man consistently. Like that. Yeah. That to me, if you're going to be elite, to Liucci's point, you got to win versus man. Like if you're going to beat Georgia in a primetime game, they're going to come up and they're going to jam you. And you better be able to win.
Yeah.
And that's where you got to have the elite level guy. And I didn't see that out of him.
Well, what moments do we remember? The Alabama game in Alabama was a moment that we remember, but also the Miami game this year that OB has brought up on several occasions. That third down where he came up short and he went backwards and didn't get the first down. That could have changed the way that game played. Those are plays that I remember. What else do we remember?
I remember Ole Miss. I think he was exceptional at going up and getting the contested ball, but if you're going to do that, if it's going to take 5 or 6 times in a game for you to get 2 of those, but I mean, look, I'm not going to downplay his talent. I think also, I agree with what you're saying versus that press man, and he was the first one. He sat here and told me like I'm a small receiver. I am. I think A&M had a glut of really guys that could have really excelled as a slot, and Anias was too good to get off the field, and it was Anias. And Evan wasn't healthy enough to demand that, hey, that's my spot. That's where I need to be. There was also other than Noah and eventually Ja'Day who can play outside. So between Moose, Evan, and Anias, I think all 3 of them's best spot is there. So, yeah, Stephen, along with what you said, though, you can survive that loss. Yeah, and certainly the production wasn't there because he didn't play enough. The key, though, I think now I look at the wide receiver position and I say they damn sure need to go out in the portal and get another one. In addition,
I'd like to see him sign 2 high school guys.
Cyrus out.
Let's just say in the world of NIL, you free up a lot of cap space, if you will, getting rid of Evan Stewart. You can go get 3 wide receivers that I think you don't lose much, if anything at all, but you get a lot more depth. And
Walter Nolan. Think about if he doesn't sign with A&M. How much NIL money those 2 guys would have commanded this season. I mean, it gives you.
That's what we're day and age of college football.
And that is who the best are. The best. You're an NFL guy. Player personnel departments, the best cap managers, if you want to call them that, whatever. And I do get the vibe that Mike Elko, and that was one of the things I said before they hired him. That like, look, this is what he's going to impress them with. He has a very specific plan for how to manage that day to day.
Jordan Lockhart has signed. We'll get into that when we come back. Also, Jordan Pugh listening agrees with you 100% on Evan Stewart. So just wanted to read that out. We're taking a break here. Milliken Reserve time, farm to table community and College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. They're committed to treading lightly on the land, and Milliken Reserve is creating a sanctuary for family, for nature, and for community out there. 2,600 acres of open space, 30 miles of trails, and they've got families are connected, and they love going out there and having a good old time. A variety of native species find their homes there in the preserved woods, the ponds, the creeks. They got white-tailed deer, songbirds, rabbits, and turtles, and homeowners at Milliken Reserve share in a legacy of conservation, which means generation after generation, you come back home to that pristine countryside place. It is a beautiful, beautiful place to go connect. The neighborhoods are awesome. You've got the creek, homes on 10-plus acre wooded estates, the hollow in a private gated community, and the meadows. Homes at the meadows are responsive to that natural surrounding. Learn more at millikenreserve.com, that website, millikenreserve.com. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. By the way, this is our signing day special.
Nuno, get you some.
Brought to
Who's
you
it
by
brought to
Academy
you by?
Sports and Outdoors.
Nuno, get you some.
I already had one. I did have one.
You don't know what. Do you have this kind?
Yeah, I had that.
It's that, my friend.
You think he had fried chicken?
McGee,
I did.
That's the
Did
best
you?
Yeah.
breakfast sandwich you can go with.
I actually had both pieces of the biscuit.
Egg
Wow.
white grill, Chick-fil-A. But you go
No free ads.
egg white and the fried chicken instead of grilled chicken. You're not trying
No
to
sauce?
go healthy here. Sauce would be a game changer, probably. You're right.
Like spicy ketchup from.
Some people get the spicy chicken with it.
I like. Yeah, that sounds like they'd be good too.
Anyway.
That looks so good. I feel like that sandwich is smiling
Not a
at me right
sponsor.
now.
No offense, Ronald McKinney, but that's what I.
We know you're listening.
Ronald McKinney's listening. He's taking
Hey.
shots at you.
How many,
Well, look,
how
I
many of
feel
our
bad.
players have NIL deals with McDonald's?
Exactly.
Good question.
0. So next time
I'm
Steve
loving
McKinney
it.
wants to text in and be
Ba-dum-bum-bum.
critical of perhaps maybe an analysis made by our own Stephen McGee, maybe Steve McKinney needs to, if he wants something different, maybe he needs to step up in a big way. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, dude.
The
Is he going to open up one of those
the
what is it
inside
called?
skinny.
Mick Orbits?
What's a McOrbit?
Oh,
It's
the
like a
coffee
Starbucks.
place.
It's like a Starbucks
Mc-
deal that McDonald's is coming out with.
Yeah.
They're trying to get in the drinks game like Dutch Brothers.
Speaking of coffee,
I do like McDonald's coffee, but I love
TexAgs
TexAgs
coffee.
coffee the most. And actually, I did switch it up, and that is what I'm drinking now, and it is really good.
we got to clip that and make that a commercial.
Have
Jordan
you had
Lockhart.
TexAgs coffee?
I haven't had it yet.
I'll get you some.
Oh, we'll get you some.
Homegrown bean?
Yeah.
Out here in the Brazos Valley?
Guatemala.
El Salvador.
El Salvador, yeah.
Guayo Palomo. All right. I had to do it with the accent. I apologize. Should we talk about Jordan Lockhart?
Yes, Fish Nuno.
Fish Nuno.
He thinks
Well,
I'm Army guy.
yeah, we had that discussion at the gym the other day. But look, Jordan Lockhart is a kid that has been locked in, committed to A&M a while back. It was in the summer, part of that crazy run that A&M went on in the summer, and was very closely tied to DJ Durkin. So when the coaching change happened, there was a lot of folks that were kind of questioning A&M's ability to hang on. And this kid and his dad have been so much fun to follow on social
Yeah,
media.
they have.
They're very engaged. They're very passionate. They're very pro A&M. They came in and met Mike Elko and were sold after that early visit weekend. Actually, they were sold earlier than that based on the conversations that they've had. But he is a playmaking
Let him
dude.
go.
He has
Do that.
he chases the football, like relentlessly chases the football at 6'3", 230 pounds. He played a lot of like that stand-up edge position that you see right there. Be interested to see like kind of what the plan is for him at A&M. Do they line him up like a Tyree Johnson, like Mike Elko did so often, or does he play behind the line of scrimmage? Because I do think that there is a need for that on the depth chart as well. So positional versatility again, physical at the point of contact, and I love the way he plays. Just relentless to the football.
He does, and he is physical at the point of attack. And
playing against real teams.
Physically, when you look at him, I get like late stage Aaron Hansford vibes.
Sure, I like that.
like where
Yeah.
he's at. But Hansford didn't look like that in high school.
No, he was a receiver.
And Aaron ended up having a nice end of his career here at A&M. But he's really impressive physically. Probably one of the more physically developed guys they're going to sign in this class. But Bronny, you talk about it's the hustle and effort that I love, and it's the physicality. You mentioned at the point of attack, but I think point of attack with his hands at the line. But I mean, especially when he tackles guys.
I mean, he's
just
playing
got-
against
he's
real.
got-
That's
yeah.
modern day. He's
well,
playing
that's
against.
as good a competition
Yeah.
as there is in the country.
Right.
At John Bosco and that league in California, going all the way back to when you were playing like that. This has always been elite football that he's playing with and against, and he finds a way. Like I just think he has a great feel for when to throw his momentum into a tackle, and he's got a good feel for the timing of it.
Yeah,
kind of Buddy Johnson had that. That type of guy.
His brother's also going to be a PWO.
Yeah,
here
who had been at Ole Miss,
He'd
right?
been at Ole Miss. Yeah.
Portal King.
Linebacker is a difficult position to project. I feel like now that the game has changed so much, linebackers have to be able to run.
Yeah.
If you want to be a liability on a defense, you have a stiff linebacker. You got to get athletes because they're forced to cover so much ground now, and so that the guy that can run and get to the football and has consistent pursuit, I think you can win with.
Would you rather have that guy or a guy like Torian York that knows where the football's going to be, so he may play faster than he runs?
I'd like the combo.
Yeah, I like him. I like a Torian York and
York.
Mike, where you can hide that if you're not quite as an athlete. But the will linebacker in the box, that guy's got to be able to haul. You got to be able to run.
Well, look at Edge this year. When he was able to finally just run around and make plays and have all that experience.
Maybe like having Torian call the defense and Edge can just go play.
You're Sean Lee, if you will. But your athletic linebacker, you've got to have a guy that can run, that can match up with that inside tight end or, occasionally a wide receiver and not be a liability.
Well, I like Lockhart at the line of scrimmage. I mean, look where all these plays are being made. He's popping guys, shedding blocks at the line of scrimmage. So maybe he does play that over position that Mike Elko, features in his defense.
Let's talk about linebacker overall, though, because with Edge moving on, you got some youngsters there, position of need still through this recruiting class and also through the transfer portal.
Yeah, look, we expect that Ty Anthony Smith will sign with Texas. If he hadn't already, we haven't been, so that was one that kind of a orchestrated exit that I actually think maybe it wouldn't have if Durkin and Jimbo had stayed, but from the moment that happened, I think that one had been in the works. Texas weren't going to back off of him anyway, but there could be other linebacking news today, Bronny, that would make us all pretty excited, I think.
Are you referencing something? Am I missing something?
Are you? I don't know. I mean, what signatures have come in? Did something come in?
Well, Tristan Jernigan's committed, but he's not signing until Friday. He is posting a lot of pro A&M stuff.
I said, in the early signing. I guess I shouldn't have said today, but that's what I was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, you can but unless things change, we're feeling good about A&M's chances there following that visit with Tristan Jernigan, who's a longtime A&M commit that Nick Saban personally went after pretty hard down the stretch here for Bama, and you're going to have to survive that ultimately. But Jernigan's big time.
Nick just let me know we do have some video of Alex Howard, who obviously was 2 days ago, I guess, was transferred in.
You want to talk portal too?
Yeah, well, do you want to do that on the outside?
No, let's watch that. You know what I was told about Howard? I asked, and I don't know what he's listed at, Bronny. What do they list him at?
6'3", 230 something?
Yeah, no, 6'3", 235, I think I was told, and the A&M staff believes he's a sub 4'6" linebacker.
There you go.
And I'm sure they've got some connections. And this is not, and this is why I love the portal, right? This is not high school. If you're not paying attention right here, you recognize that end zone, you recognize those stickers on the helmets. That's him making a sack against Ohio State. Like, the dude can run, the dude can close. He's been very productive at a perennial power program at that level in Youngstown State, the Penguins. I love that pickup, and maybe he's your guy that you're talking about to play alongside Torian York. I do think they're going to continue. I think they probably should add another linebacker in the portal. There's just not a lot of veteran-proven depth. You've got Martrell Harris returning for year 3. You wonder how he'll fare in a new defense because he's got the talent. You've got,
Damian
Sanford. You got Chance Johnson. You got some young linebackers. But I think when you look at this team right now, and you've still got J.D. Davis. We don't talk about him. He's a guy that played a little bit last year early on, the transfer from Jackson State. So you got some bodies, but you don't have much proven at all outside of York. When you're in that type of situation, I think you need to go get at least 2 in the portal. No, not at least. I don't think you need 3, but I think you need 1 more.
It'd be interesting, too, the age of the kids that they go after in the portal. Like a Tackett Curtis from USC just went in. He's only a freshman. He's a redshirt freshman, actually. So he'll have 4 years to play. Mm-hmm. Do you pursue a guy like that? I think that depends on how much does the new staff like Damian Sanford and how much do they like Chance Johnson as down-the-road contributors? Because I think if you're going to add another piece, they'd like it potentially to be an older guy like Alex Howard.
Well, I think if you're going to add another piece, unless it's a guy that you said, hey, if we were recruiting this year and this guy was coming out of high school, we would take him and lay down.
Yeah.
No decision, so let's go get him. But what you really need is to win football games this year. And I think you need to have at least, you need to have 4 linebackers that you feel great about. And if you go hand pick them out of the portal, in your mind, at least today, you feel great about them. And you feel great, obviously, about Torian York.
All right, let's hit a break here. There are 940 of you watching on YouTube, along with all of our other channels. If you can go ahead and like that, that would be great, trying to get that over 200 likes. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with more. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. They got great deals when you go to their website. That's where they put all their vehicles. The first time that they'll put them out there, right? And you got to kind of a feel what they have on the lot. When you make the drive out there to Caldwell, you'll see the cars they have on the lot. You'll also experience that amazing customer service that I've experienced. Other people here on this desk have experienced as well. Dante Hall gets his cars from there. R.C. Slocum does. I've gotten mine as well from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. When you get there, too, I'm telling you, like the repeat customer service that you'll get, the complimentary pickup for your service, it's incredible. It's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes, the very edge of Bryan to the edge of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the good people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. Welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is our signing day special, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. McGee, Liucci, Bronny here with me. What are we going to do? We're going to do Miles Davis here, right?
Well, Central Texas guy from Converse Judson, and we have a Central Texas guy sitting over there on his phone. So I figured we'd give him, not you.
Yeah, I know.
The McBurnett over there. So I think we'd let McGee talk about a Converse Judson Rocket.
Talk about a safety.
Yeah, talk about a guy that you'd have to throw the ball against.
Well,
who's got a lot of range is going to go pick off one of those McGee floaters if he lets it go and doesn't put enough
McFloater.
McFloater. Yeah, absolutely. Look, the attractiveness, if I'm a young safety and I get to go to a program and work for one of the great defensive minds whose favorite position is what? Safeties. So you know you're going to get hands-on experience and development from one of the best in the business. Safety, look, I mentioned this earlier, linebacker. I think it's true at safety. You have to have that hybrid element, especially if you're going to play strong safety, where you can get down in the box and be physical and make run-stopping plays, but then not be a liability in pass coverage. I think we've seen some of our strong safeties over the years get too heavy and they can't run. So I don't think you can ever sacrifice speed for any other skill set. And I really think it starts at the linebacker level now on back, but certainly safeties.
Well, and you speak strong safety is what he is. Like, he wants to play in the box against the run game, very sure tackler. And, I mean, he showed up at camp, Billy, and you were out there that day, I think, and, like, just super impressive physically. And got his hands on a bunch of footballs as a junior there at Converse Judson. And as a senior, I thought he really grew into, like, a big-time, hard-hitting tackler, not afraid to play within the box. So and look, this was a kid that kind of wavered on what he was going to do, and then once he locked in with A&M, he was all in. Canceled visits to Texas. The Longhorns pushed really hard in the summer when he made his commitment. It was Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama, all in there. So one of the top players in the state, maybe the top defender in San Antonio, and I expect him to come, and I like the situation that he gets to come into at safety. Doesn't have to play immediately, and behind a lot of different guys and a lot of different body styles.
Position of strength now. I mean, with all the guys that are there and coming into Trey Jones, we have some video of him as well, who just transferred 2 days ago.
It may be especially important if you're light on linebackers. You see a lot of teams now getting into dime personnel.
Yeah.
And if you don't give up a lot, maybe you take off a linebacker if you don't feel as good about that position and put in an extra safety.
By the way, some of these plays, we're talking about competition level, right? You're seeing competition level against Austin Westlake. He's made a bunch of plays. Oh, here's some Trey Jones film. I haven't even seen this.
Hold on. Pause that, Nick. You're getting ahead. 2 steps ahead of yourself. I haven't even talked about Miles Jones, one of my favorite guys in this class, actually. I love Miles. First of all, Bronny, I love his personality.
Mm-hmm.
He's really entertaining and funny. Very comfortable. There's like a maturity level, or just kind of like a lot of kids that age will be shy or be reserved around adults or in front of a microphone or a camera. He's not like that at all, and there's something to be said for that. I do think those are the guys that can fit into a locker room quicker, can make the adjustment to college quicker, and then a dude's not scared. That's one thing I think of when I watch him. He is not scared to come down and hit you. He's not scared to make a play on a football. There's no like hesitation or reservation on his part. And I think the physicality and the mindset play in this league, I think that range he's got, McGee, I think there's been moments over the years since, recent years where A&M's had really good safety play, but they've lacked a little bit in terms of range back there. Yep. That's why I really like Bryce and Jacoby needs to keep developing because he's got it.
Yeah.
And Miles is a guy, and you see him on tape, right? When you see him walk in here, he's not going to get too big. He's going to be a good size safety with length and height, but he doesn't have that frame where he's going to, to me, get to be like a bulkier, slowed down type of guy.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's a good pair, too, with Jordan Pride, who, when you watch Jordan Pride's tape, he's longer, long strider, good runner. You can see, like, top-end athletic traits because he plays both sides of the ball. So I think you have an enforcer in Miles. Mm-hmm. And I also think you've got the big, rangy guy, Romer, on the back end playing center field in this class with Jordan Pride. And so
give us a little pride, Nick. Show some damn pride.
Yeah, Nick, show some pride.
I didn't, you're saying we want to hit every guy. I haven't talked.
We haven't talked to him.
What do you got, Nick?
Well, I was just going to ask how many of these guys can be legit
Here's Jordan Pride.
kick returner, punt returners for A&M here over the next couple of years.
Terry Bussey.
Ernest Campbell.
Yeah.
I think Bussey's that dude, man.
Bussey's probably your next punt returner if he signs. Wouldn't surprise me if he's the guy next year returning punts.
Man, there are some big things yet to happen with this class, like Tristan Jernigan, Dalen Evans. Again, we're hopeful that we'll see both of those guys ultimately choose A&M over.
See, I told you, Jordan Pride's very athletic. People sleep on him because he had that knee injury.
And he was so early and just never drifted.
Remember, it was down to like A&M, Florida, and Florida State, and he had been committed to Florida.
Was he the first commit or second?
No, I think
Funk was first.
Funk was first.
Pride was very early.
Let's see, I got the dates right here.
He was very early, though.
Tristan Jernigan was before Pride by 8 days.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks for the fact check.
Dalen Evans
but he was very
July,
early, right?
He was probably the fourth one, yeah.
Okay. On Dalen Evans, earlier in the show, you are getting some intel that he might end up signing today. Is that
Howell reported that he feeling more confident. We started to feel more confident yesterday. Don't think it was done. There were still conversations being had, but felt like it was going in a much better direction. Hey, do we have time to get to one more before Stephen goes? Because I do want him to look at the tight end.
Okay.
Eric Carner. And we haven't talked about it. He did sign McGee. Might be my most intriguing guy in the class, Eric Carner, just because he's from Elmhurst, Illinois. We don't know a ton about him other than what we see on tape.
Elmhurst. It's like Nuno was actually born there.
Yeah,
I was. Actually,
yeah.
Pastelito de Guayaba from there.
Gosh. But McGee, I don't know how much of this kid that you've watched, but has the frame, athletic build, athletic composition to be a really productive player at this. It's hard, because you don't know the competition level or anything like that, but you see the stuff on tape and the measurables, and it's like, man, this is pretty good.
I would argue that depending on the offense, that tight end is probably the hardest position to make a leap from high school to college and then from college to the NFL, because these guys have to master so much of the game. They have to line up and block some of the best defensive ends in the country in the SEC West in pass pro. You've got to know all the run game blocking schemes and calls with the offensive linemen, and then you've got to know the entire route tree, and you've got to be able to beat the linebacker and mismatch down the field in coverage. They ask to do a lot. So, it's hard for me to believe that tight ends can show up and have an immediate impact as a freshman, but you love the frame. You love guys that can run, certainly, and that are physical and that show the ability to be a good blocker as well. I mean, tight end is arguably one of the most important positions and often overlooked positions on the offensive side of the ball.
Guys, as we hit a break here, Lane Kiffin tweets a GIF of Brad Pitt in Moneyball, adapt or die.
I said that in the first hour. He's this guy. He's like a chameleon, right? He tries to keep you guessing. He tries to change his skin as much as he can. But like a year ago, he was just lamenting the portal and NIL, and now they are spending bags of cash in the NIL game in the portal.
Least favorite coach in college football.
Lane Don't Kiffin? Say that. There's a lot of people on our message board that think
he's
should
at
be
least
here.
up there.
I mean, our message board. Lane Kiffin's done a good job in Oxford.
He's done a good job, but it doesn't mean we have to like him.
Exactly. I wouldn't. People that say that, I don't think know the depth and the horror stories around the college football and the coaching ranks, and even in Oxford. They don't know the efforts and the lengths he was going to try to get other jobs. He would have sprinted to this one, and that's going to make some Aggie fans go, "Oh, I wish we." I just going to say you don't. If I thought there was any world where I would trade like, hey, Lane Kiffin can win games like this, that does come first to me here to a point. There comes a point where
we're selling our soul for the devil.
Yeah, and listen, he's getting those players not because he's a good recruiter. Now, I will give them credit for having a good plan, which was, hey, we're here in Oxford. we have X amount of money, which they have a good amount for a program like that in NIL. Like their amount of NIL money versus facilities, stadium, like it is the ratio is really strong over there in terms of NIL. But they've made the conscious decision, like, we can't go head-to-head high school with A&M and Texas for these Texas kids, LSU for the Louisiana kids, Alabama and Georgia for kids throughout the SEC footprint. So we're going to go almost, not all in, but we're going to go way in on the portal. And we're going to get guys that have proven they could play at a high level. We're going to get guys that have proven that they're really good at the lower levels, and we're going to sink most of our thrust into the portal. And that plan, if he's spearheading it, I give him and their staff credit. That's about all I'll give them credit for.
Would you agree?
And they can beat a down A&M team in close games because they've done that 3 times in a row.
They're going to put up points.
Yeah.
Would you agree, though, it's hard to be really good at both because one comes at the expense of the other? If you're really good at high school, it's going to be harder to get really good portal guys. But if you're really good at the portal, then a lot of the high school guys are going to say, well, there's no commitment to us. You know, you're just going to go sign the next, quarterback with 4 years under his belt.
My favorite portal recruiting is the ability to keep your players out of the portal.
Yeah.
That's the best portal recruiting. And unfortunately, Elko's walked in and had to do that with an entire damn roster. And so much focus is on who's leaving. If they can get Shamar Turner to come back to school for next year and keep the guys they've kept and not really lose any more of significance, then I think they've done a nice job with the roster. Because a lot of those guys, David, a couple of them were going to have a hard time being eligible to play, and they're going on. But a lot of them were leaving anyway.
Can I ask one more question about that? Sure. If you were the head football coach and one of your guys on your roster put his name in the portal but then wanted to come back, would you allow them to come back? Or is there an immediate policy with your team that you put your name in the portal, you do not have a place on this team anymore? What would you go? What route would you go?
I would eventually go with that. Mm-hmm. But if I'm new,
that's what I was
saying. I'm understanding.
But can you backtrack? Right? Like it's like the Sumlin curse where you gave away so much of your soul with Johnny, and then it was hard to back that with future players like a Myles Garrett, et cetera, that want to do their own thing.
I think you can this year because, again, like I said, they didn't sign up for you.
Yeah.
And so their knee-jerk initial reaction is, my coach just got fired, my position coach is leaving.
Yeah.
I've got a chance to go check my market value. And it's 2023, and that's the mindset of guys. I'm going to do it. But I think moving forward, is this true, Bronny? Does Sark have this?
That's what I heard.
Because I like it once you get established. And I think Mike Elko will have a low threshold for those kind of shenanigans. But I think right now, his primary goal is to keep it together.
Let's hit a break here because we're going to have a 30-second segment when we come back. It's
Mr.
TexAgs Radio.
Mr.
Sorry, Louis.
Taking us.
All right, final segment here of the 9 o'clock hour, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is our signing day special brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. All right, if you do want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can text. We're going to try to get to some of those text messages, or you can call us up on the Brian Foley Law hotline. Before we go to break, I do want to revisit who has signed this morning. Ashton Funk signed early this morning. Jordan Pride, Miles Davis, Miles O'Neal, the quarterback. You've got Jordan Lockhart, the linebacker. He signed this morning. Kendall Jackson was the very first one from Gainesville, Florida. He signed. Eric Carner, the tight end that we talked about here moments ago. All right, so we'll have hour number 3. Brandon Leone is in the building. He will be joining the panel. Bronny will be back. Billy Liucci will be back. You're listening to TexAgs Radio's special presentation of our National Signing Day special, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. We'll be back in a few. Estamos aquí. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance
What
Studio.
does that mean? What time is it?
No, we are here.
My bad.
Dalton, that's what he says to me when he wants to speak Spanish. Estamos aquí. We're here on TexAgs Radio. Anyway, it is our signing day special brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Brandon Leone is in the house. Hello, Mr. Leone.
What's up?
How you doing, buddy?
Good to be here, boys. Good to see y'all.
Yeah, man, it's good to see you. We've been doing it virtually for a little while, so happy to have you here in studio. Guys, can we talk about the roster itself and where needs are? We did address a little bit of the linebacker spot. I would assume even after signing day, wide receiver is going to be an area of concern. Running back, now that it looks like Carey is probably going to go to Georgia Tech, I think was the latest intel on that one. Is that correct?
Yeah. And I think things are still I think I like where A&M's at with the other two Tampa kids, but not done yet.
Okay. Not done yet.
Not done yet. That's an announcement at 3 Central, something like that, this afternoon at the school. They're having a signing day ceremony. But Luch, Howell's text that we're doing a little live on-air recruiting team. Howell's text was about Dom McKinley. Steve Wiltfong reporting.
That he's waiting.
Steve Wiltfong, who everybody puts a bunch of stock in. He's right. He does a good job.
He does a great job. But
Howell was on this 3 days ago. So that's really not news if you're a TexAgs subscriber that Dom McKinley is going to wait until the second window to make a decision.
Yeah, and it's significant. And look, Wiltfong is one of the very best at what he does for a reason. By the way, with the T in there,
I never knew that.
What are you doing, Wiltfong? I went to high school with Chad Wiltfong. He was a great pitcher, great friend. Grew up with him. I've never thought to put the T in there, but I respect his work, and he does a good job. And he respects the hell out of TexAgs, and it's vice versa. He'd be the first to tell you he's not always right. We'd be the first to tell you. We might not be the first to tell you, but we would tell you we're not always right. Mm-hmm. He doesn't make things up. That guy has respect around the industry throughout coaching ranks because he doesn't make things up. So he was getting that on pretty good intel to go with it about a 5-star recruit. So some other program, some other school probably felt really good that they were going to get him signed early. The suspicion here would be Texas, and maybe that's just because the fans in Austin just assume they're getting everyone. And it's not just because they're playing well now. It's because they've always been that way. But him holding off Brawny, as we've talked about, is it doesn't guarantee anything for A&M.
Would you consider it
a very good
win?
thing? Yeah, I don't.
If
he signed today, which Howell said he wasn't going to, if he did, I don't think A&M had enough momentum in that recruitment. So, Brawny, what are you reading right now? If you can talk about it.
Yeah, we're checking in on Ashton Bethel-Roman.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like I think he's got a spot if he wants it, but the communication with A&M today has kind of slowed down. I knew that he talked to Colin Klein last night. Super quiet kid to begin with anyway.
Son of, was it
Mark Roman.
Remember Mark Roman, the Niners safety, right?
He was drafted by the Bengals in the second round in 2000, played 10 years.
I remember him.
But anyway, so we're checking that. He's such a quiet kid that getting kind of any real information. I do know that Arkansas has signed everybody in their class that they thought they would, except for Ashton Bethel-Roman and one other kid. So that does remain out there as a possibility for an addition today. And then the latest on the Tampa kids is we still feel good, but nothing done.
All right.
Tampa 2.
The Tampa 2, because like Carey, like you said,
Georgia Tech.
First of all, have we talked about the offer that went down last night that I thought was really an eye-opener? You like this one if you haven't been on social media. EJ Smith.
Stanford.
The running back? Emmett?
Yep.
Emmett's son, yeah.
How's he been at Stanford? Has he played much?
Yeah, he was hurt one year.
Okay.
He was hurt one year, and then the second year, I've seen some highlights of while he was there. He's a really intriguing offer to me, Brawny, because number one, if you didn't take a back in this class and instead were able to get him, I think that's better than anyone that was still on the board for them. But also, two things. You talk about a first-class kid, but a very versatile athlete.
Wasn't A&M in on him?
Yeah, it was the A-Chain year, wasn't it?
Jimbo loved him. Yeah, Jimbo. They wanted him and A-Chain.
Yeah,
that's a good call.
They wanted him and A-Chain. And there was also Daniel Ngata. Who went to Arizona State. They wanted 2 of those 3, but Jimbo really took a personal, I think, liking to E.J. Smith and just his character, what he was made, his makeup, and
he's been on some awful Stanford teams.
Yeah.
So when you look at his production, you're going like, okay, well, who was good at Stanford?
Yep. I think the kid, he can catch. He can catch. He's a unique kind of. I think he's kind of a unique move him around, get him the ball in a lot of different ways. If you're a Colin Klein type thing, I want to see where that one goes.
I also don't think that it's going to necessarily, if they take E.J. Smith, that it's going to mean they won't take a high school back in this next window.
You can find one in the next window, sure. But
how much eligibility does he have? 2 years?
DJ 1.
Yeah. 1 year.
Yeah. It's just hard. Like,
does he want to come here? And
Anthony Carey kid from Tampa, I think he looked at A&M's depth chart and went, well, I don't know when I'm going to get on the field there. Like, and that's something that's important to me is playing early. So I think he's going to.
Does A&M feel good
I'd
about
say get out
Moss
of
and
here with
Daniels? And
like A&M's got to start getting, and I believe with Elko, and once they get Trooper Taylor in here, you can't, and we can do whatever we want, right? We could take whatever kind of. Bronny can look at it one way. I can look at it. I want to see A&M get to a point where you can go, there's 3 bleepity bleep running backs on campus, the whole campus, right? Or is there somebody I'm forgetting?
Can David Bailey not come back?
He has a lot of years under his belt.
I think we'll look at that.
Boston College, Colorado State, A&M.
I'll look it up there.
He might be able to come back for a 6th year.
Yeah.
But my point is, if you're recruiting running backs, we're living in a world where I've seen Alabama with like an 8-pack of NFL running backs. I look at what Texas is doing in the backfield recruiting. If you can't sit there and tell me like LSU in all those years, all the backs they've had, Georgia, do you want to win a championship or not?
Yeah.
Go get a 4th running back without him being scared of the other 3. And by the way, as much as we love Reuben Owens and Le'Veon Moss and their potential, and I love the toughness and kind of durability of Amari Dan, but there's not a star back yet. I think either one of those 2 guys could be a star, and I trust your opinion a lot more than ours on this. But you're not going into a situation where there's an established star. So
I think Le'Veon Moss has star power.
I do too.
But I also think our biggest issue this year was our offensive line.
Yes.
And so we really haven't had the opportunity to see these guys really flash what they can do. I mean, Le'Veon, like you said, he finishes strong. Amari's like your Mr. Consistent. You know, I mean, like you could depend on him. He's good in pass pro.
To me, Amari's a guy when you're not getting it out of your guys.
Just throw him in.
This dude, at least we know this. He's going to go in there and.
I think Le'Veon has a chance to be a star. I'm excited to see him in this offense. That's a big. I know you said he's coming back. I forgot that they put that out the other day. That's a big.
It's a big one. And by the way, on that one, David Bailey, if I'm reading it correctly, he's out of eligibility.
Yeah, he is done. Yeah.
So, he came in. So there is room. There is absolute room. When you look at, because we're talking about maybe potential holes or places they can go. I know you don't follow the recruiting cycle the way these 2 do. Just what do you see that A&M still needs, either through the portal or maybe somebody we find here in the next signing day window?
I mean, the first thing you got to think about, to me, and I know Elko, he's just been thrown into drinking out of a fire hydrant, right? The timing and when he's got here with the portal. I mean, the whole game has changed, and I know y'all probably touched on it, but you got to look at where are you losing your most production. And now the flip side of the portal sucking is also a benefit in the sense that it works both ways. And I know Billy's talked about that with you a lot on the radio. You got to be looking to add another receiver. You got to be looking to add quality linebackers because you're losing corner. You're losing Chris Russell. You're losing Edrin Cooper. Who's your production at linebacker? Who are your guys? I mean, you got York, obviously. But there's some positions of need that need to be addressed, and they've done that. You know, they got the kid from Kansas State. That was a good get at corner. They got the receiver from La Tech. But my whole thing, if I'm Elko, right, you kind of late to the party, unfortunately, with this high school stuff, and I know it sucks, but give the guy a shot. You got to utilize the portal as much as you can to get veterans that can come in and contribute now. Because there's still a lot of young talent on this team, but it's unproven talent. And if you're going to ask me my opinion of next year and how critical it is for the Aggie football team, I don't know if there's ever been a more critical year with your rival coming in, you know, with a lot of momentum right now. You know, OU is always a chance to be really good. I mean, you can't miss next year. And so you got to take advantage of the key veteran talent that's sticking. And you got to utilize the portal right now to plug and play as quick as you can. In my opinion, you have to.
It's something that we got to understand too. And Billy, we alluded to this, I think, in the first hour. The portal and what it looks like now, it's going to look different after these bowl games. Like, there's more kids going to go in.
Mm-hmm.
So
what's the window, Brian? Like
till January 2nd.
January 2nd. It's open?
It's open.
Okay.
So then you don't have to make a decision. Like, you can start the kids can start visiting out of the portal, I believe, the 4th through the 7th weekend.
Okay.
So as long as you've got them enrolled by the time classes start, like, that's what you're going to go into the spring with. And then there's that spring window, which will probably be a lot smaller in terms of what's out there.
Yeah.
But player acquisition and roster management happens yearly now.
Absolutely.
So you won't know what the 2024 roster is going to look like until May of 2024.
That's exactly right. That's a huge point.
I want to take 1 second and go off script here. It has to do with A&M, but not necessarily. I just saw on Instagram the graphic. Ethan Fisher signed with Samford.
Yeah,
his dad's alma mater.
Oh, really?
I just love that story of what Ethan. Imagine, what he has fought through.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to go play college football as a kicker. With his battle with Fanconi anemia, which I know everybody has become so familiar with over the last 6 years, but I've always thought the world of that kid. And now, young man, watched him, from when he was 12 years old to 18.
Yeah.
And for him to reach a day like this, a milestone moment, is freaking beyond cool. And it doesn't matter that his dad's not the head coach or not. He loved Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Loved it. He would fight for A&M,
Mm-hmm.
and did it many times, whether it be on social media or arguing with, opposing players and in good spirits. But that's an awesome moment for him, probably for Jimbo and Courtney and the family. And, he was actually going to come in, and we were going to interview him on the Sunday after Mississippi State, shortly after his commitment. That was planned the very start of that week. And then, for obvious reasons, that didn't end up happening. It just on a day where it's like a dang roller coaster for everyone. Imagine him getting to that point.
Dude.
You were a guy that hoped and prayed, since whatever age you were, that you could get a college scholarship to play football.
Yeah.
Imagine at some point in your life thinking physically you were told you were going to be unable to do that.
No.
And then figuring out a way to make that happen. It's a freaking cool story. I'm happy for him today.
It's a really cool story. And I think, even as a parent, right, I mean, you always want the best for your kids. And the ugly side of this business and the recruiting and all the things is you forget to personalize the people behind everything, whether it's coaches, whether it's recruits, whatever it is. But, Jimbo Fisher as a father, hopefully today he's extremely proud.
Yeah.
He's gone to bat for his son. And I mean, I know a ton of Aggies, right? I mean, we got behind it. I mean, with the Kids First Fund, I mean, there was a lot of money that was raised because people do care. And that's one of the things that I think that makes this university special is, he can go on to Samford, but we can still celebrate his success as a young man and be excited for Jimbo, the parent and the father, because I know that's a special day for them. That's really cool.
Wide receiver, Billy, do you I don't know. I don't know how to segue from Ethan to something else.
Yeah. No, I was laughing. We cut.
So how about that left tackle?
And he's pulling something off, and he's like going.
I got dog fuzz on me.
But wide receiver.
Welcome to the club.
With Evan leaving, do I have it too?
Dog fuzz?
Yeah.
No, I mean me. Anytime you wear like anything black or
my couch, forget about it. Anyway,
forget about it. It's a fugazi.
Wide receiver, Evan goes in. A position still that you think that they're going to be looking at in the transfer portal?
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Let's take inventory of the scholarship receivers on campus right now. Go.
Say that one more time.
Take inventory.
Micah Tees, Noah Thomas,
Moose Muhammad, who's in his last year.
What about number 9?
Jade
Walker.
Okay.
So you got 4 for the bowl game scholarship wide receivers. So yeah, they've got.
And Noah's out.
Oh,
I mean, I think he's out. I know he hadn't been practicing with some type of
injury. So you got
injury.
3 scholarship wide receivers.
I mean,
But
confirm
Jaden
Noah
Platt out wide.
I know he hadn't been. Yeah, I mean, I know he hadn't been practicing up until very recently.
Okay, so you've got Javon Harvey and Cyrus Allen committed out of the portal. No high school guys. Yeah, you need receivers.
Yeah.
Well, I think you just also you need bodies. You need numbers to figure out who's your best. But I mean, go out and get impact. Like if you can go out and get impact.
Oh, Cyrus Allen video.
Yeah.
Yeah, how about that?
By the way, I like him.
Yeah.
I mean, he
originally from Louisiana, correct?
Landry Walker High School, yeah.
Always love that.
Playmaker.
700-something yards.
Yeah.
This season, that offense is.
Louisiana Tech always has one dude. Who was the dude that just smoked
Trey
us?
Harris.
No, Patton.
Patton. He had like
17
19 catches.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he went to.
La Tech's been ahead of the curve offensively for a while, so I like these receivers coming in.
That's what we need. Attack the middle of the
So
field.
I think he certainly has.
Don't get caught.
He certainly has potential to be a starter in this group, and that's not easy when you think about Moose, Jade, and Noah. But Jade's had 1 year. Noah's got to show he can stay healthy. I think we know what Noah can do when he's healthy. Yeah, but he's got to stay healthy. He wasn't the healthiest this year. I think I'd love to see him add some weight and some size. But yeah, I love the Cyrus Allen pickup. A lot of people were crying about the guy from South Alabama that went to Louisville, and I would have liked both of them. I would have liked all three of them. But I looked at tape on both these guys. I don't know why we assume that South Alabama is better here. I mean, I think Cyrus Allen is an impact guy.
Yeah, look,
averaging over 600 yards last couple seasons.
He's played in 21 games at the Division I level. Had 1,000 yards receiving, 8 TDs. Again, I think it goes back to the roster. You got to bring in guys that affect lost production right away. And you're losing your top two guys, one to the portal and one to the NFL. And so, wide receiver. I think Billy's hit that a lot. So is Brawny.
But
go get
need now a lay down starter, impact guy that might be your best player. I mean, if you can go get him, I don't think they have to, but these guys have to pan out. I'd like to hedge my bets all the time on and go get. And again, like I'm not saying there's a Keon Coleman out there.
But there might be.
Or a Trey Harris, or a guy like, but there might be one that comes up and go get him. But
because you've alluded to that,
I like. This is a guy that wasn't utilized all that much. He is explosive.
ODU really struggled throwing the football in general this year. I think this is a dig deep into the tape.
Yeah.
What do we have here? Okay, don't look at his production. What does the tape show you that when maybe the ball doesn't come his way, Leone, but he's creating separation at the top of routes. Yeah. And so his production is lacking because the offense is no good. Similar like the E.J. Smith. Yeah, he wasn't super productive. He was on bad Stanford teams. Mm-hmm. So there is some deep film diving that goes into this, and we know that Mike Elko's organizational structure features guys that this is what they do. Mm-hmm. They watch tape for hours and hours on guys in high school and guys in the portal.
And that's going to bode well for them long term.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be how you build the foundation. And, yes, Godly, I'm sure y'all have talked about it. The star game is obviously important. There's no denying that it's not critical to have the top elite level 4 and 5 star guys. But that, to me, is the beauty of the portal. There's a lot of these kids, they go JUCO or they go to smaller colleges that didn't have the opportunity that they're going to have now. And they go have great careers at a Sam Houston, at a La Tech, at an OD, in the NFL. Yeah. Well, now they get the opportunity to have more eyes on them because – and I think this is unfortunate a little for the high school kids. Coaches are now watching tape on kids in the portal now as well.
It's certainly affected high school recruiting.
It has, and
to a negative,
and JUCO as well. But I agree with you, Brawny. Watch tape. See how guys affect the game on and off the field, and when they're running routes, blocking, whatever. It's a big deal. It affects the whole play calling.
Let's hit a break here. When we come back, I don't think we've talked much about Chase Basanta's deciding to stay, so that's something we can get into. Also, the recruiting calendar or the entire calendar.
We can't let this hour go without talking about what's the rest of the next couple of days look like, or the rest of today, and then what's left in February.
All right, let's do that when we come back. This is typically Recruiting Country, presented by Caprock Health System, a faster patient-centered revolution in care with 2 ERs in the BCS, the original 24-hour ER in South College Station off of William D. Fitch and Greens Prairie. They're a full-service hospital with ER in Bryan and Briarcrest, or on Briarcrest. Online at caprockhealthsystem.com. We are back, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is our National Signing Day special here, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Brandon Leone, Billy Liucci, and Ryan Brauninger here in studio with us. All right, guys, a topic that has come up a lot is that we got to fix the calendar. But do people have solutions? What makes sense considering?
It doesn't matter if we have solutions. The NCAA have sensible solutions. The answer to that is no.
No, it's always no.
Right.
But what would make sense considering all the things that are happening right around the same time? Coaches are getting let go. You got bowl game preparations. You've got the transfer window. You've got, like, what makes sense?
Go back to a February signing day. That makes the most sense.
It does. There's too much. And what about Peter Burns' tweets? Why did I say his name that fast?
Peter Burns.
I thought you said Peter.
Peter Burns tweeted this, and I completely. Oh gosh, here comes Dalton. Oh man, Dalton had a good one. He said, "Do in all caps, do the DocuSign, Billa." Bronny's been pushing this DocuSign. I don't know who originally. I'll tell
you who did it.
Oh yeah, it was Elko.
Mike Elko.
I knew it. Smart. That's right. I remember. But Bronny's been. Elko told you about that years ago.
Years ago.
And he's been peddling this as his own info.
No, I've
until
said it.
Just now.
No, I've always said this is an idea that a college coach had.
This is the Goodwill Hunting guy in the bar that's like quoting
you like
the book.
apples? Oh yeah,
this is your shtick. You come in and come up with signing day ideas, pass them off as your own.
It is crazy to me though.
Why'd that turn into Dolo?
The old school.
I was going Boston.
Oh, that sounded like
Dolores. You come into TexAgs, you pulling off signing day ideas as your own, steal them from other coaches. But Bronny, you're right. Like, you can't imagine when the playoffs start. Like Burns just said, teams will be playing playoff games this weekend at this time next year.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And you're going to have them worried about signing day, an early signing day, and with the coaching changes, with all these games you have to play to hire coaches now, with all the, ironclad contracts and stuff. So I got you on campus coaching. I've got him working for like 2 different freaking teams. I've got him waiting because his contract means I can't hire him until after the bowl game because he's due a bonus that my AD won't pay because they had to pay me so much of a buyout to get me. Like,
it's foolish.
So then I can't put together a whole staff, but then I got to go recruit. I got to go portal. I got to beg and plead my players to stay with me. Elko had the only advantage he's had, and I don't even know how much of an advantage it was, is that a lot of the players he was trying to get to stay knew him. Mm-hmm. But most of them didn't play for him. Most of them, they just at least knew him.
Yeah.
But that's not much because when Jimbo Fisher got here, every kid on the roster knew who Jimbo Fisher was. So it's not like there really weren't any advantages to hiring a new coach right now with the way it's set up. And you're right. The only easy solution is to just do a February sign day or do a summer one for a window and then say, if the head coach leaves, only the head coach, not the position coach, if he's fired that fall, you're out of your NLI. And I think that gets even too tricky. Just go back to a damn signing day.
Yeah. What do you think, Bronny? I mean, you talk with all these kids, like you visit with the families, the coaches.
It's just
in high
become
school.
untenable the way that it is right now with all the stuff that's happening all at once. And A&M's probably lucky that they're going through this coaching change ahead of when you expand the playoff. Like, wouldn't you rather be doing it now than next year?
Yeah.
So, go back to February. And I liked the nostalgia of February signing day.
Absolutely.
Like, by lunchtime, you knew what was happening. But, that first hour and a half of the day, 2 hours, was crazy from 7 to 9 in the morning, phone blowing up. I can remember running out of here for, was it Donnell Harris, like getting an update on air, getting like all that stuff was like, that's fun. That's a fun part of the job. And you make connections and people calling you and exchanging information. But
forget it, even that's all, you're right. But it
makes sense to do it in February. That's why the NCAA won't do it.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Can you just push back the portal to the spring? Why do we have to have a
because
window?
you got the kids enrolling in the spring.
No, but just have them enroll in fall. Like, that's it. You have
but
one.
You're killing their I think that is something they're gonna have to keep. Because you want to get to your next school to education purpose and to start practice.
But don't you want to give the new coach a chance to get to know these guys?
Yeah, but you can't make overarching decisions based on the few schools that are going to be making coaching changes. You have to make the decision for the betterment of everybody, not just the few schools that are going to make.
But what they're doing, I don't believe, is for the betterment of everybody. I think there's somewhere in the middle of what it is, and that's what we're talking about, somewhere in the middle of what it is and kind of what you're talking about.
No, I'm just talking about for the transfer portal. Like, you have to kind
They're
of
not going to do anything that looks like they're negatively impacting the student athlete, which, by the way, is why they're not walking back probably anything. I'm like, just go back to players having to sit out a year.
You'd kill the whole portal.
They can't do it.
If you did that.
They can't. They will not walk that back. Not ever. So let's not even act like they would. So that's anything that's going to, once you give it to the student athlete, the NCAA and the decision makers will not take it back.
Absolutely not.
And that's my biggest concern about this whole thing is the craziness of it. Is how do they get it? How do they get it back? The good news is, I think that in recent weeks, last week or two, like, the commitment from you guys listening, the commitment from some of the more influential donors that listen to this thing every day, and that I'll regularly visit with, I've felt the tone and tenor change. Mike Elko is going to be a coach that fosters meaningful relationships with as many of the most influential donors as there are, and he's going to sit down with them and be a real dude, and they're going to get to know him, and they're going to be impressed with not only the person but the plan. Mm-hmm. And I think he is going to essentially, this is like R.C. Slocum going around in the late 80s or early to mid 90s. Probably by then it was probably the 90s, going around saying, I need facilities, and doing it, a lot of it on his own. And that's why I'm so glad his name's on that building finally. Because through through a couple of really big, generous donors, but he did a lot of that on his own, and that's why I think you're going to see Mike Elko roll his sleeves up and say, okay, if this is the price of poker, and this is how you have to stay relevant in the SEC and on the national scene, of course I'm willing to do it, because I'm going to do anything it takes to win here. And part of the job, and I think part of what he's excited about, is going around. I think he's going to literally go. You're seeing Slosh do it with the baseball stadium right now. Go around, sit down, real FaceTime, make yourself accessible, get to know these guys on a personal level, and explain to them why it's important and why, like, hey, Texas A&M jumped out to a nice start there. But it's not like they're they're way behind one team that went so far above and beyond everyone else, and that's Texas in terms of NIL. And again, Longhorn fans, don't go crazy. I'm dealing with a bunch of LSU lunatics today. I need you guys at bay for like a day or two. It's the right thing to do. Go get you a Kelvin Banks and a Quinn Ewers and a Cedric Baxter, and keep Xavier Worthy, and give your guys Lambos. And I'm all for it. It doesn't mean the culture has to suck. Mm-hmm. That's a misconception. Spoiled 18 to 22-year-olds. Culture goes out the window. Where's it out the window in Austin or Seattle right now, or Ann Arbor, Michigan, or Alabama, or Georgia? Yeah. What's wrong with their cultures? It's fine. It's about winning and losing, and the more players you get, the more you win. Mm-hmm. And it's up to the head coach to balance that culture and keep that discipline in the program.
We got to hit a break. Bronny, I'm asking because I don't see the difference. What is the difference of pushing back the portal to February if you push back the signing day?
Well, because the classes start.
I know, but they start also for the
but you can early enroll still, so you sign your grant and aid paperwork. You just show up if you're an early enrollee.
Yeah. Okay.
I just having the portal guys who are already entrenched in college lifestyle and stuff wait until the summer. I think it hinders academic process, but I also think the kids don't want to wait around and not.
They want to start.
They want to start. Yeah, they want to start getting the ball rolling.
I'm saying they want to start on the team, which being in
their
spring
degrees,
ball,
transferable credits, all those things. A lot of stuff at play.
All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back with.
One thing we haven't broke down one player that signed.
Who's it?
Ashton Funk.
Let's do it.
Of all the guys that we haven't broke down, has been the guy that's been the most staunch in his commitment since day one.
We got time.
We got time to do that. Also, what the rest of the week looks like. Billy wanted to get
Rest
into
of the
that.
day and week.
Yep, we'll do that. Right now we're talking Heritage Films. That's Chancellor McLean's company. YourHeritageFilm.com is the website. They make documentary films about families, which are awesome, right? They'll do 2-hour documentary about your grandfather, your father, maybe your family business, your family ranch, something important to you. Maybe it's a bunch of buddies that get together and play basketball every weekend or play golf together. You guys want to document that and have interviews done, videos done, some old pictures, part of it, and then something you can share with your family for generations to come. We did it with my dad, and we love watching that story with him, with my kids, and eventually their kids will be able to watch it as well. The website is YourHeritageFilm.com. They also offer another option, which is called the Year Flicks, which these are 20-minute Q&A videos, usually reserved for the youngers, right? So you can have it done for your freshmen in college, talk about their story getting there. Then a year later, maybe when they pick their major, you follow up that 20-minute story, and then you have yourself a 4-part story that you can do every year of college, or however you want to break it down. The website, YourHeritageFilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. All right, welcome back in TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is our National Signing Day special, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Go have fun out there with Academy Sports and Outdoors. All right, So one guy, I think he was maybe second to sign, right? Am I right about that? Ashton Funk was
second.
very early to sign. We haven't broken him down, so let's break down his game here. The Katy Tompkins offensive lineman. Ronnie, you started
Billy,
off.
you know what's funny is there's kids like this in every class where they're just so staunch in their commitment. They've been Aggies for so long that we probably don't do them enough service of breaking them down and talking about how good they are. And this is a kid that chose A&M over Michigan, Stanford, and LSU. 6'7", 300 pounds, has played tackle, can play guard, incredibly intelligent, and you off the charts in terms of a culture and leader kind of kid.
If he's not a good college football player, I'll be shocked.
Yep.
Like, you mentioned the schools he was looking at, and you think academically where those schools are at. You mentioned that size. What I really like about Ashton is that he doesn't – if I see him, like, he looks big, but when you see him in person, he looks huge on tape, right? He's going against these smaller guys. But when you see him in person – he doesn't – you don't sit there and you see him and go, man, that's an imposing dude. And then you get up closer to him and shake his hand and you say, yeah, he's all of 6'7", 300 pounds with room to grow. Yeah. And that's where you really go, man, this dude's going to be a tank up in the trenches in the SEC. And again, really intelligent. But you look at the footwork, there's some like, he's not the athlete that this guy is, so don't get me wrong, because this guy was as gifted as I've ever seen. But there's some Luke Jokel in there when I look at him in terms of just his footwork, his technique, just a guy that physically can get it done. Jokel was just on another level athletically and agility-wise. Like, he was a top 5 pick when he came out. But Ashton Funk is a guy that I look at and go, he should be a multi-year starter at Texas A&M.
Extremely high floor, Brandon. Extremely high floor. And, again, you can't say enough about him in terms of – first of all, I think in my evaluation of offensive linemen, overall intelligence is climbing up my list of importance because we've seen it this year. I don't care how talented you are. If you don't know who to block, they ain't blocking. Like, at least if I know who to block, I can lose slow. You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely.
But in terms of culture and fit and a guy that this place and winning at Texas A&M is going to matter to, A&M's not going to sign a kid in this class that it matters to that Texas A&M wins more than to Ashton Funk.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have these type of guys on the line of scrimmage. I mean, you said he's got a really high ceiling, 6'7", 300, and he looks like a baby. Mm-hmm. And so think about when he gets here and he's in the strength program.
Tommy Moffitt strength program.
Yeah, Tommy Moffitt. Mm-hmm. He's growing. He's adjusting to blocking, real dudes instead of these high school kids. But this is the type of cat that you look at, and like you said, he committed early. It's just like the NFL, right? Most people aren't talking about the tackles and the guards, but they're making a lot of money because you got to have them. And so smart, like you said, big. Look at left tackle, right tackle. He's seen both sides of it. I don't know where they'll put him, but watch this kid grow into a beast as he matures physically and, like you said, mentally. Understanding the game and Colin Klein's scheme is going to be important.
Didn't do any camps. Didn't feel the need to do camps.
Yeah.
Committed to Texas A&M. He wasn't going anywhere. He wasn't worried about star rating or anything like that. Yep. He said that on TexAgs radio before. I don't care what my star rating is. It doesn't matter when I show up in campus. And super intriguing upside because he's going to maximize what he's got in his body. No question. That's the kind of kid he is.
Looks like he's got a lot of reach too. Long arms.
What do you think the offensive line looks like next year? Kind of similar to what we had this year, minus Layden, DeSantis, Fathery, who didn't play, obviously, Bryce Foster, Cam or Naboo.
Okay. So what do you lose? What do you lose off of people that played offensive line at Texas A&M this year? This is something people aren't talking about enough because rightly so the focus is on getting some of these D linemen back when you lose McKinley and then you lose Diggs and then you lose Walt, which is essentially 3 or 4 starters. But the reality is you really had 5 starters when you count Shamar and Shamar.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the focus is there. Mike Elko can look – if Shamar Turner comes back, Mike Elko can look at his team tomorrow and go, I should be really strong on the D-line. I should be really strong at safety, which is a key position for me in that defense with what he likes to do. I have the quarterback. And if he can feel good about coaching that group up on that O-line, and he can go to sleep going, I also think I have a good offensive line. I know that's hard for people to grasp because we've been beaten down here the last couple of years. If you think you've been beaten down, what do you think the guys in that locker room have gone through? Which is why I think it would have been a mass exodus had things stayed the same. And I don't even think that's because they disliked Adazio. I think it was because they just didn't respond to his coaching, and they also like that whatever was lost in technique and communication, like the message wasn't getting through, and that's got to be hard on those kids. So I think a lot of them feel like they got a new lease on life. Clearly, they were impressed with that first sit down or two with Cushing because they're still here, and they're all I think they're all signed up and signed on. You just haven't seen these things start rolling in, but so you lose Layden, right? Out of everyone that played. Am I leaving anybody out? You lose Layden, but you bring back Fothery, who you didn't have available really this year. So you've got Foster, Naboo, Dewberry, Crownover, Zune, TJ Shanahan, and Fothery, and I'm leaving Basantis, which was massive for him to come back.
Yeah.
And again, I felt terrible for him. A lot of times you got to cut off your feelings with this portal stuff and realize, dude, some of these kids are making more money than some people make their whole lives for an annual salary. Some, it took people into their mid to late 30s, 40s, even 50 to make that kind of money. So on some level, you got to be like, dude, I don't feel that bad. But I didn't feel like Chase Basantis wanted to leave. I think he got caught up in a lot of moving parts, and that's why he's back. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the team because I think he's going to be really good. I think he struggled some this year once they started playing the real tough SEC teams because he's a true freshman playing tackle, maybe even out of position. I don't know.
So it sounds like Auburn is trending for a couple of the Florida commitments, and so with Auburn coming in on a couple of their guys, L.J. McCrary with their five-star defensive lineman announcing he's not going to sign early. A&M in on Isaiah Williams out of Tampa, who's committed to them. Man, it could be the ball could be unraveling a little bit earlier than Billy Napier may have expected.
It's 46. What's the rest of our? Because we're going to talk tomorrow more.
Tomorrow I'll be hosting, and it'll be a lot of the guys that are signing in the later today or whatever.
So what is the next couple days? Like what's our optimal scenario, expected / optimal for the rest of this early signing period? You've got Blake Ivy later today.
He hasn't announced, but we think that's done.
Yep, and that's a big one.
Yep.
Again, he's a quiet guy that committed. It was a massive get. You won a big head-to-head over LSU for that one, and he stayed. So we don't talk about him enough either. Kind of like Funk, and then you've got the guys you got Papa Fua, who I think that dude is going to be nice. I love the 3-man O-line group. I'd love to see him go add another if there is the right one down the road. But I love, you just tell me you're getting 3. I love these 3. Papa is physical. He's tough. From Naboo's high school. They knew about him for a long time. I like that little pipeline up to the Pacific Northwest. And then the Tampa guys, Bronny, talk a little about them because to me, Solomon Washington is a guy, I've told the story where he essentially committed after
Solomon Williams.
I keep saying what? Who is Solomon Washington?
Basketball player?
Yes, solo. I'm thinking, though, the other one I was going to say was Solomon Thomas, who was a top 5 draft pick, D lineman out of Coppell.
Solomon Wilcox. Let's just keep doing Solomons.
With W's,
King Solomon.
Solomon Williams, to me, like, listen, what I think about Solomon.
Jerome Solomon. Sorry, continue.
Okay, you just jumped the shark.
That's why I did it. I did it on purpose.
You went there. That's an Aggie hating
He hates us.
sports
Bro,
writer
he
like no
does.
other, man. I got my list, and he's way up. And he's a good. Jerome Solomon's an institution there writing. He's good at what he does. But he hates some Aggies.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, Solomon Williams, when you look, if they can sign Dalen Evans, which is the other one we're talking about, and you go Evans, Jackson, Williams today, that's a nice haul on the D-line, especially all things considered. If you can go finish out and add Dom McKinley, I think Terry Bussey in February will be the single most important recruit that they target. But I think Williams is the guy, and I mentioned this, I think the A&M fans are underrating.
I think the national people have underrated him.
What a big deal he could be.
He might be an instant impact guy. You watch that tape, Solomon Williams.
Rusher. Oh, yeah.
Go watch him. We'll talk a lot tomorrow about them.
Well, we've got to hit a break here. We'll come back with one short segment right now, end-of-year message for the Association of Former Students, who wants to say thank you to the Aggie Network for their generous support throughout the year. As an independent 501c3 nonprofit organization supporting Texas A&M and the Aggies, the association would not be able to help musters across the world host ring days throughout the year and support A&M clubs and provide scholarship assistance to students in need without your help. It is the season of giving. Would you help the Aggie Network spread some holiday cheer by considering making a gift to the Association of Former Students? Renew your Century Club membership if you haven't done so already. Become the first-time member or give a gift of membership to another Aggie. The association works hard year-round to be there for the Aggies, and they cannot do it alone. To make a gift today, visit tx.ag/cheer23. It is the Association of Former Students. 2 minutes, 30 seconds. I have to say that. That's what's left here on our Academy Sports and Outdoors National Signing Day special because, you know, some of you guys on this show, the words continue to go. It's a hard stop at 56:30. What do we want to see or what's going to happen the rest of today and the rest of the week?
We own a website, right?
We do?
Website.
We don't own it. He does.
Yeah, he's the
owner. You're the owner.
You guys
which is why we have to listen
emotional ownership, mental ownership of it. But
well, my boss is Brandon Jones.
Yeah. Very absentee boss. I'm just the day-to-day. But listen, I'm one of my boss, friend, workout partner, coworker, distractor.
Yes.
Harasser.
That definitely harasser.
I do. I do take advantage of the call. Started off with work, and then it's just, hey, I'm driving to Dallas. I need to talk for 30
Y'all should
minutes.
do 1 year, do an in-house TexAgs office, do y'all's own documentary and put it out. Y'all really should.
It would be pretty good.
Mark the idea down.
I want to do it.
People wouldn't believe that he's really this way. Like
people wouldn't believe half of y'all. The office here
I
is
feel like
so
all
All of us
amazing.
are really who we are.
It's,
Yeah.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
people
Like
ask me all the
everybody
time,
is
what's it
who
like?
they are.
Yeah, what's it like working for Billy? I said it's exactly how you think.
But you are exactly how you are.
Right, but like they think he's different as a boss. I'm like,
No,
no, it's the
but
exact
just-
same.
Put the camera in there with OB for a day.
No.
Give me some sand hop at the crib. Like
No.
can you imagine? It would be so good.
So we're gonna keep talking for a minute after this.
So we'll continue on on YouTube and on TexAgs.com or
I don't know.
This is like the final countdown.
no, we'll just keep
Where's
going.
Steve and Slarth?
Take it down.
Those two. Proving to
I
be.
had so many jokes to say when you just asked where they were.
Oh, did you?
Sometimes just be quiet.
You know,
What,
Steve
anything
might be
crazy?
at a car convention where he's checking out Can-Am Spider Roadsters. They really fit his personality.
Speaking of Steve, Dr. McGee, if y'all remember his little commercial with Cap Rock where he was pretending to be the doctor, could have used him that day when I got stapled up when he threw me off the golf cart.
Since he's such a doctor, but
Dr.
instead,
Stephen McGee.
they just
Fix
let
the scar.
Leone calls me. Hey, I'm getting stitches. I hit my head, and I'm like right up the street from him. I was at a graduation or ring dunk or graduation party at. Are we going?
We're about to be gone. Hey, thanks to the Zone. We'll
Way
keep
to
it going on
interrupt
YouTube.
the story, Louie. Okay. So Brandon calls me, and I'm going to the Bill Burr comedy thing.
Which was great.
It was good, yeah. I like comedy shows. I want to go to Rogan's deal in Austin.
100%.
I want to go to
The
his comedy club.
mothership.
Shane
I
Gillis.
would want to go to that bad. And Johnny's he's friends with one of those guys there that does a show every week. I really want to go to that. Like all his little hookups.
Let's go see
I
Shane
could care
Gillis in
less.
March.
I want to
I
go.
like
yeah,
Shane.
In Austin.
I want to go see
His
good
Trump
comedy.
impression is hysterical.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
It is. I'm sorry.
Brandon calls me. He's got literally staples up across the back of his head like Frankenstein. There's a knot this big. He's been thrown off the golf cart by an overzealous McGee with Swope riding shotgun.
Swope was with it.
Or
They
Schrader.
were. It was Schrader, Swope, Sean Porter, Jamie McCoy, and me and
Schrader's
Steve.
got just coffee breathing all out of the room.
You're so dumb.
He gets thrown off the golf cart, hits his head, cuts his head. I see the shirt he was wearing. It's covered in blood. Looks like Rambo.
Mm-hmm.
And they just tell him, he just makes his own way to the place. They just a few staples. He rolls over, meets me outside the show, carrying a bloody shirt. I'm like, you need to put that back in your car. Comes in the comedy show. I tell my friends what happened to him. And they're sitting to my right, and Brandon's to my left on the aisle. And they keep looking like, hey, keep an eye on him. Is he okay? Like, he's kind of dozing off. I mean,
Concussed, man. I
were
already
you
have
concussed,
CTE
or was it that
anyways.
you were also playing golf all day?
It was probably a mixture of both.
And that's probably
You
a mixture
should
of
be
why
at a
McGee-
show.
That's why I haven't come to the Letterman's reunion in 7 years.
Yeah.
'Cause
So
it
we
always
didn't
ends
know
up
what
being
to do.
a long day.
And
Right.
he tells his wife, he tells sweet Carly, like, hey, I hit my head. I'm going to get stitches. I fell on rocks off the. And then we go in the comedy show, and they have to
They
lock
take
up
your
your
phones
phone,
and
so you can't
watches.
record it. So you
Yeah.
have the thing where his phone just is vibrating the whole show.
Oh, no.
Poor wife's
I can't
calling
open
him.
it up.
He's
She's like-
with me, but he just says, hey, I hit my head. got stitched, and that's the last she hears for hours.
She thinks I'm dead in the Reed Arena parking lot because she has my location.
So then I have to call. We call, and I'm like, "You stay with me tonight." It was one of those deals where like, you got to wake up in the middle of the night and go check on him, all because of Dr. Stephen McGee.
Dr. Stephen tossed me, bro. He really did. It was a fun day though.
And you're looking at him like we're done. We're not done.
I like to make eye contact with everybody that I speak with. As a professional public speaker.
We got to get this back.
Yeah, I know.
Professional.
That's why you brought me.
We're turning you into the unprofessional public.
So how do you want to finish this show or continue this show, Billy?
Well, I think what we need to talk about is what we were just talking about. Close it out with what does the rest of the day look like? We just said.
The rest of the day.
The rest of the day and week, like through Friday.
Okay, so the rest of the day is the Florida trio. Now, we think two of them A&M's got a better shot with. I think Anthony Carey is headed to Georgia Tech. Still tracking Ashton Bethel-Roman. As of 11 o'clock, let me just make sure. I do not believe a signature has come in for him anywhere.
You get him and Isaiah, and you've made some interesting strides at the receiver position in this class at the finish line, at the early finish line.
Right.
Other than a Twitter account called Hogs Anonymous, does have 6,000 followers saying that that Ashton Bethel-Roman will be signing with Arkansas, which I believe that if you want to. It's an anonymous Twitter thing. But it wouldn't surprise me.
I've had anonymous Aggie accounts tell me that we were hiring the SMU DC.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's
guaranteed
some of those anonymous Aggie accounts have really stuck their neck out on some things.
But it doesn't matter.
There's no accountability.
You're wrong 8 times out of 10, and then you take a victory lap on the 2. And this anonymous one said the SMU guy, and everybody, it's kind of like the Georgia linebackers coach. They sucked you in on that one. But everybody thought that guy was a candidate, and then they were so disappointed that A&M didn't hire him when they never even considered hiring him. And then the same thing with the SMU DC. Everybody went and started looking at his numbers, built it up, and then we're disappointed to find out they weren't getting him. Well, they didn't. They never tried to get him. But so anyway.
Well, I think Ashton Bethel-Roman, my gut says he's going to stick with Arkansas. I think the communication has subsided today. I think they're just kind of in wait-and-see mode on whatever he does. I think they'd like to have him, but if he goes somewhere else, they understand that, 3 weeks isn't – they just offered last week.
Yeah.
He had a prior relationship with Colin Klein, but it's a brand-new situation. So the kid's been committed to Arkansas since the summer. And then, Tristan Jernigan is on Friday. We expect him to sign with Texas A&M. And then we're monitoring Dalen Evans over the next couple of days. But outside of that, that's the high school prospects. Now,
what's the portal window again? The rest of it?
January 2nd to go in.
And then when does the spring one start?
Don't know.
Okay.
Don't know. But
there is one, though?
Yeah, there's a spring.
That's what I'm going to be watching.
See, I think that I think especially if you're at a place where you're going through a coaching transition, like why wouldn't you stay through the spring to see if you like it?
Yeah.
Especially if you're in a good situation. So
is it before or after a lot of spring balls, you think?
I'll have to look it up.
I'm telling you, what you got to wait for. Why did my phone go dark, Nuno? I was trying to look up. Can you look up the 2017 Texas A&M signing class?
Yes, sir.
Or 2018, I guess it would
got it right here.
Brawny.
Yeah, that's the Jimbo transition class.
Yeah. What I was going to say is this. One thing to watch out for. The wild card of all this for A&M and a few others might be the Michigan Wolverines. What if Jim Harbaugh were to leave after the playoff and go to the NFL? I know Michigan thinks there are a lot of people in coaching.
Can he sign an extension?
There are a lot of people in coaching that think he's out after this year.
That's interesting.
I don't know if that's true. Michigan people don't believe that. There are a lot of people in the profession that think that would be a wild card. But I think most of your portal damage, and there could be a multiple small, or one giant exception to it, will still be done in the next couple of weeks. Keeping a very close eye. I know Bronny and I are watching a couple guys.
Dude, a couple big names that we're hearing are going in. They just haven't gone in yet.
Yep. And look, in fairness, I heard a lot of chatter. Here they come. Here come the lunatics, the LS Unitics. The LSU Unitics are going to come after me with this one, but I heard a lot of chatter last year and about Malik Neighbors potentially going in, and that wasn't a secret. That wasn't some A&M specific thing. Other people were talking about it. I think LSU, to their credit, stepped up, kept him. Obviously, that paid dividends in the way of some wins and probably a Heisman Trophy this year for Jaden Daniels. But, Xavier Worthy was very close last year. So we see a lot of guys that you hear chatter, you hear whispers that are close to going in. Edgerrin Cooper, that don't go in. So he and I are hearing a lot of the same names, but that's no guarantee that it's going to happen. But if it does happen with one or two of them, if A&M can get one or two big names out of the portal to go with the guys they're getting, man, you're going to start feeling a lot better and to go with the guys they're keeping. Because what this is still all about is what does your football roster look like going into next season, year one, under Mike Elko. Mm-hmm. And there are some pieces there that could really tip this thing. And as far as recruiting goes, you were outside. I think I said Terry Bussey. I don't care how it shakes out. I have a hard time believing he won't be the single most important guy in the January period. Obviously, Don McKinley is a 5-star D lineman. And there'll be others that pop up, especially with the new coaching staff and with new hires. Every new hire is going to say, hey, I got to know a guy.
Duke plays Saturday.
Couldn't know.
I mean, that's just something to keep an eye on. Duke plays Saturday.
For sure.
But it's kind of unfortunate. It's one day after the early signing. But it ain't going to matter. Like, it's all going to be about that second window.
Yeah.
But I got that first.
Yeah, let's hear it. 8 of them, right, were early?
Early enrollees. No, I thought I was looking at the class of 2018 that you wanted us to pull
I'm
up.
talking about the early and not the early enrollees, that December signing period.
Yeah, I don't know that we have that.
Well, if you tell me the names, I'll tell you.
But look, we'll go through this class, and this is what wears me out about. And it's a vocal minority that will speak so loudly and so often that they're trying to convince you that they know what they're talking about.
The vocal yokels.
And they know how this thing is going to go, when the fact of the matter is you don't. You don't. We don't.
You don't.
We don't know how this is going to turn out, right? We can sit here and prognosticate and make assumptions and guesstimations based off what we know. Look at the class of
22.
Right.
It can look better or worse, and you always want it to look better on signing day. Let's not BS ourselves here. Like, we all would have loved them to finish number 3 in this class ranking. And I think that would still enhance your chances of success. It doesn't mean that you're getting a bunch of spoiled, entitled young kids that are going to want cars and NIL, and that means they can't be good. We got burned by that in 22. By some of them. Some of them are still going to be massive players for this team. But read the names, and if I think of one that was early, because I would like to compare, like, and say, look, this is what they signed early, the last transition, without the portal, without NIL. Go ahead.
Jalen Preston.
Late.
Max Wright.
Early.
Leon O'Neal.
Late.
Colton Blanton.
Early.
Bobby Brown.
Late.
Luke Matthews.
Early.
Caleb Chapman.
Early.
Jordan Moore.
Early.
Jeremiah Martin. Late. Montel Parker.
Early.
James Foster.
Late.
Jay-Sean Corbin.
Late.
Muhammad Check Diallo.
Late. Or no, he might have been early. Diallo was early.
Vernon Jackson.
Early. No, late. Signing day, late.
Barton Clement.
Bartolo Clemente. I think he was early.
From Fort Bend Marshall.
I think he was early.
Charles Strong.
Late.
Tank Jenkins.
Late.
Glenn Beal. Late. Tyree Wilson. Early. By the way, this is the bottom.
Shit. Tyree Wilson.
That was at the bottom of the class. Jay Sternberger.
Early.
Brian Johnson. Early. Deneric Prince.
Early.
I think he's in the NFL maybe.
Tulsa.
And then Seth Small was the final one.
So, I mean, they're early class.
But how many of those guys that I just rattled off that were like big-time key contributors?
Very few.
Corbin, but he transferred.
No. But that's what I'm saying. He wasn't like a big-time contributor.
No,
he could have been.
You're looking at Jalen Preston, Max Wright, Leon O'Neal, Bobby Brown.
And Leon and Bob. You said Preston?
Yeah.
Preston wasn't a big time.
He played.
I hate the – I love Jalen Preston.
He's
is a great dude, and he loves A&M, and I wish – I give him credit for sticking it out.
I wish he had a receiver coach that could have taught him how to do
because he's and the players, teammates love. They still do love him. But big time, were probably just Bobby, Leon, and Jace, and nobody cared about Jace's signing. And Bobby and Leon were committed, and they did the same thing Bussy and Don McKinley are doing, where they waited and they ended up signing them. And it was a battle, and guess who signed them? Guess who went in the trenches and fought those battles? It was obviously
Mike
Terry
Elko.
Price with Bobby, but it was Mike Elko as a DC, and especially with Leon, as you know. So Elko's been there, done that. We've seen with Jimbo was an elite recruiter, and even he struggled in that first transition class, and that was before NIL, and that was before the portal being like it is. So it is difficult. Gosh. If you look at that group of early signees, and by the way, we didn't mention Max. Max is a big time contributor in his career in a lot of ways, but and on the field these last couple of years. But that early signing class was not a highly rated deal at all.
You know something I just thought about, and I sure don't want to bring up a sour subject, but going back to that 18 class, think about the recruiters that you've lost. One, unfortunately, lost his life when Terry Price passed away. I mean, he was a mainstay of recruiting for the D lineman, and then now you lose Elijah. You think about how different that looks for the A&M recruiting team over the last few years.
Isn't it crazy? And me and Billy have talked about this, that a lot of what's happening across the street, or a lot was hinging on the defensive tackles coach.
Yeah, no, that's
too much.
Okay.
To do. Yeah,
like a place like Texas A&M.
No,
everything hinged on the defensive line. And I love Elijah.
100%.
He was fantastic. 100%. It's not his fault. He was really good at his job. But for an operation this big to hinge on one guy like that,
I still say of all this hand wringing and angst over Elijah, Elijah's doing two jobs at once, and that's awkward, and I think it's silly, and I don't think it should have gone that way. And I've talked to Ross about it. Like, I think my personal opinion is I would have liked to have seen them say, hey, good luck, thank you. I understand why once that didn't happen, you can't walk that back, because I don't care what you think of it. It comes off as the appearance to the kids that you're firing them. They're having fun practicing out there. They're enjoying it. At least there's some motivation and excitement in that locker room for a bowl game that otherwise wouldn't have it. I think in a perfect world, I don't know. I wonder why Elijah couldn't wait to announce, but he's the DC. If he's a position coach like Jeff Banks was going to be, maybe you wait, like Banks did the Charlotte Bowl, the Belk Bowl. Is it the Belk Bowl?
That was Belk, yeah.
But my only thing to me that Elijah has done where I'm like, okay, I didn't like that, and I think it's wrong. I think it was a mistake by him. I don't think he should have done it. Is gone in-house with Don McKinley, much less going in-house wearing Syracuse. I mean, don't do it. Save it for after. And by the way, that guy's not signing with you right now. And do I think it's because of Syracuse or because Elijah went in there and cut up A&M to Don McKinley? No, I actually do not. But it's just a bad look that you went in-house. Now he's not signing early. Again, I don't think he would have anyway. I think Texas and LSU are more the threats than the Syracuse is. But to me, you could have done whatever work you needed to do behind the scenes, because your loyalty is now actually more so towards Syracuse, to recruit him to Syracuse. You could do that over the phone. You could say, hey, as soon as this is done in January, I'm coming in. Can't wait to get in your, like, do all that, but don't go in the house in the Syracuse shirt with Nick Williams and show up in there and have pictures online and then come back and work here the next day. That's the mistake. I think it's overplayed. I think, it's uncomfortable and awkward. I wish it wouldn't have gone down that way. But to me, that's the only thing he's done where I've been like, I don't like that.
Right.
Fadil Diggs, like, I would love to have seen Fadil come back, captain, veteran, but man, I think let's say Elijah Williams just quit coaching, or let's say he went to the NFL tomorrow. I think Fadil Diggs would have had a hard time staying anyway. Like, that was his guy. And let's say he went to the NFL and Syracuse offered his brother, or Rutgers, or Penn State. I think you probably lose him because Elijah's not here. So it's just the in-house visit with Dom that rubbed me wrong, and I think should rub people
I don't think
wrong.
Dom's going to sign with Syracuse.
No.
I mean, I Not saying he's going to sign with A&M, but I think Syracuse is out.
Which is why I think you could have sat that one out, and a lot of this conversation wouldn't have reached the levels it had.
Mm-hmm.
Learning experience for him, and I think for the powers that be at A&M.
All right. Well, that's all I got.
That's it.
We're chasing stuff down, and stay tuned to the site.
You'll be updating the premium board.
Yep.
Okay, Brandon.
Portal.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I want. Yeah. Sorry. I mean,
no, it's your show.
Sorry, I'm putting off the lunch. I mean,
what? I want you to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I just want. We could just stop and not talk.
I want you to do it.
Oh, it's fine.
I mean,
I gave you these footballs as a present. I mean, what else? What else do I
James
need to
Duncan's company?
No, but it could be big game. That's true.
No. By the way, they're on a stretch of 4 portal commitments in 4 days.
Yeah,
you realize that, right?
That's
Going back to Alex Howard, then Cyrus Allen, then Trey Jones.
We didn't even talk.
Then Garrett Miller.
Can we tomorrow? Let's see how I did that.
Yeah, that's good.
Now you're like, okay, we're that much closer to lunch. Tomorrow, can we
I
talk
gotta record
about
stuff still?
Oh, what do you have to record?
Spots. I got to record the YouTube show. I got stuff, but it's good.
I mean,
I'm here with you. It's a signing day. This is an all-day thing. Let's go.
We'll hold you a seat. Well, normally we're doing it for 4 hours, so we're just trying to catch up.
Well, some of us got here at 7.
But were you working at 7?
I was just sitting. I was listening. Yes, I'm working on the rundown. Yes, actually.
You did tell me you were going to be here at 7.
Who, me?
Yeah, and I teased it the whole hour, and you never
showed up at 8:04.
Yeah.
No, I showed up at 7:58, but then there was
commotion,
a food distraction.
Yeah, I understand.
And
but I would love to get more into the portal, Billy. So continue on.
Here's what I was going to say. Tomorrow, I want to talk more about the players that A&M has added in the portal. I don't think we talked enough about them in the last 3 hours, anyway. I don't know what you did an hour.
That's fine. We can fill that. I'm hosting tomorrow. Can you tell me who's on the show? I haven't even looked at that.
It'd be nice if you'd get a recruit to call into the show. That's kind of something we did every year. There's the one year I didn't nag his ass about it, and then it's like, hey, here's the easy path. No interviews. You know what his big thing to say is? There's no one that's really good on air in this whole class every year.
You have.
You know how this goes, Leone.
Logan at 10 o'clock.
Logan?
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Punt.
Logan Lee.
Punt. I can
yeah.
Punt. Fan show.
Punt.
Paid for sponsorship.
Punt.
I'll pay him back.
All right. And that's it. So you got.
No, I don't know.
No, we can have both of those.
Yeah.
When do you 9 o'clock? What's his 9 o'clock look
Just
like?
Aaron Torres at 9:30. We can move
Punt.
him or we can punt it. It's your show.
No, this is your show. You've been very clear about this is your show.
When I go on vacation, I just help you set it up.
Okay.
Look, you just pick whenever you want to come in, and I'll move stuff around.
Well, can you have Torres? Torres can't do the 8 though because he's on the West Coast. We don't want to do that to him.
8:30 to 9:30, easy.
That means he's going to get up here at 8:30.
That's great.
You get up at 7:30.
Does that mean I get less Flow B?
By the way,
He's not around this week.
By the way, I'm going to the Nutcracker tomorrow night. That just hit me. Fort Worth Nutcracker. So I don't know. I'm trying to work in a haircut.
I would love to see Mark Chestnut
over the Nutcracker.
Over the Nutcracker.
Yeah, I would too.
Maybe he's an elf or something in that thing.
I'd like to see Joey Chestnut over the Nutcracker.
Oh, I like Joey Chestnut. You hate him.
What
I've talked to him.
What if it was Mark Chestnut singing?
Joey Chestnut.
Joey Chestnut dancing while having a hot dog eating competition while doing the ballet to the Nutcracker.
And Nat King Cole singing Chestnuts Roasting.
My
That's the best Christmas song.
I love
it.
It's the Christmas song. It's the best Christmas album.
And Lugnut Dalton Hughes sitting there watching the whole thing play out.
My old co-host Ken Hoffman is one of the judges. Hoffy every year in New York for the whatever's called the
Nathan's Hot Dog.
Nathan's Hot Dog. And we would have
an American institution.
Joey Chestnut come into studio every year.
You know, would you be a bigger fan of him if he was eating Cuban sandwiches instead of American hot dogs?
That's racist.
How
is it?
He's Cuban.
I'm not team hot dog. I haven't had a hot dog since '84.
I had a hot dog this weekend.
Who hadn't had a hot dog since '84?
I think they're gross. I'm out.
Oh my gosh. Hold on, bro.
I hope they got that because you're not close to the mic, but I hope we got that audio because I want it. Let me show you these glizzies.
Bro,
you know what I like?
Place right down by Minute Maid. Y'all have to go.
My buddy,
you think
Al Fury.
You think people are still watching this?
My buddy Al.
There's 800 people. At
my
least.
buddy. Hey, listen,
Yes.
I'm giving a shout out to Al Fury. He has the best hot dog.
It's only open Thursdays,
Where's
Fridays,
that at?
Saturday nights, right by
Minute
Maid and the
It's a hot
Dynamo.
dog?
That looks gross to me, but
why does that look gross? That looks
Bro,
awesome.
It's phenomenal. You can't even. You go
I
there
don't
in the
know
line.
what that
it's
is.
like,
Listen, Alf has one of the little hot dog makers. We ought to have one here.
A hot dog
you just
maker?
plug it in, you just set them in there like at a game.
work remotely.
Like at the 7-Eleven?
But the good kind where you actually cook them, you make them, and yeah, you don't leave them in there for hours. It's not like some heat lamp on them. It's the cooker.
Costco
like this,
hot dog.
Yeah.
Goes hard in the paint.
Well, it does.
Very good.
So here's the deal. Alf.
I can't think about Alf.
You know, it's one of my better nicknames I've come up with recently.
Alfie Solomon.
His name's not Alf?
No, it's his name, but Les Miserables Alf. Because he's a real, like, one of the up and down Aggie, and just up, down.
It seems like you surround yourself with a lot of those. Him and the negative report.
Some would say that would be me.
Yes. Common denominator.
But then some would also say, I just never say anything negative.
Do you have a nickname for every human you come across?
Yeah. 100%. Some of them are better
How
than
about my
others.
mom getting on there and saying they call? I was with my cousin the other day, and Stark's reading it, and it was like, she posted, in our Italian neighborhood, if you didn't have a nickname, it meant people didn't like you or whatever. And she was like, Billy's name growing up was, everybody called him Billy Boy. And my cousin sitting here, he goes, no one's ever, I've never ever heard that one time.
Billy Boy.
I thought we were going to stick around for 20 extra minutes and get a Dolores impression. He didn't even do her voice.
I'm sorry.
Billy Boy.
Anyway, Alf's hot dogs.
Nuno, that's a Dolores impression. What's Nuno doing?
She can do it.
What's Nuno? How's Nuno?
She actually called me Nuno the other day.
She did?
Yeah.
She can't roll an N. She can't even say the R or on the end of him or Hunter's name. What's Brauninger doing?
Brauninger.
Hunter.
Hey, K-Mix is the Costco hot dog. Actually, the Costco pizza.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Legit.
That's the best.
Pretty good.
That's pretty legit.
By the way, to my mom,
H-E-B's got good pizza.
Yeah, they do.
H-E-B does.
To my mom, Seth is set.
Set?
And there's no H, and Zwerneman is Zwizzleman. She's to this day cannot say Zwerneman.
She's the best.
Hey, did you read that article, Zwizzleman?
He's the best. I am hungry now. Where are we going?
Where are we going?
Oh, where you guys going?
Well, you got measured chicken.
No, he's coming. He's coming.
I'm on
Mixed
a walk
veggies.
right now.
Okay.
I'm measuring.
Dirty ball?
You know what?
No,
You want to do
never
it?
dirty
You
ball.
want to do it for where you guys can go and we all can enjoy, and it's not that long. I know where to go.
Where?
There's a lot of meat there.
I know.
All right, we got to go. Tomorrow, Bronny, we need to talk portal, in and out, and
whoever
the guys that
signs the rest of
kept,
the day.
and whoever signs today.
All right.
Good job,
We made
guys.
it fun.
It was fun.
You got
Always.
to sit with us.
Yeah,
I don't know why they shut. That's
That's on you. You put him over there.
Yeah, you put me over there.
Yeah,
year
you
one.
did.
Year one, you're like, no, you're there.
Because I've been over there too.
But it was because this is full.
It was COVID.
You weren't here during COVID.
It was right after COVID, buddy. It was,
Oh yeah, that was peak Billy.
No, but it was. We had 4 people here, and you were the 5th.
No, it was 3.
Yeah, maybe I just didn't want Steve breathing all over me.
Yeah, that's probably what it was.
He does that thing where he does this, and all that beard dandruff flies everywhere.
I've never seen that.
He's got that weird where he doesn't finish shaving.
It's almost
that top of the mustache. So I'm telling him,
It's
like
a little
you're
close to
walking
being-
a line
yeah.
there. Yeah, it's a little weird. He just doesn't shave all the way on accident.
I've noticed that. Yeah.
But there's about a half an inch right under the nose. I'm like, Steve, listen.
Got to use an air.
No, yeah. No, you just get up in there.
When's the last time you straight razor your face?
I do too.
Do you really? I couldn't tell you the last time I used a razor on my face. Like I'll let the barber do it. But I use like
I
the
always feel
Norelco
uncomfortable when a barber uses it.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like they're going to kill
I
me.
love a hot towel and a face massage. Are you kidding?
I fall asleep.
I have done that. I got a face massage in the Orlando airport one time, and the lady had to stop the massage because I was snoring so loud. Put me right to sleep.
Surprising at all.
All right, friends, that'll do it.
Oh, we're still on?
Yeah, we're still on. Bronny will host tomorrow, and I believe Luke and Nick on Friday. I'll be back on Tuesday, right after
Send me money for
Christmas.
my wedding. I get married in a month.
What's your, do you have your whatever Cash App or whatever?
Oh, I did. I don't know. Is that peddling if I post it? Okay.
Let somebody else pedal for you.
No, I didn't. He was the one that brought it up. I wasn't going to do that. Just send me money in the mail and pay for this.
Give your address up.
Okay. Yeah, here we go.
See you next time.